Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 9 o'clock, which means it's time for a Talk Magic. And today I have somebody on the channel that I've been wanting to get on here for a long time. This guy is so talented, it makes me sick. He's a magician, a mind reader, a actor, a voiceover artist, a podcaster. He does it all, and he does it all brilliantly. He is a legend of the magic community, both over here in the UK and in America. And to boot it all, he's an incredibly nice person as well, and one of the most knowledgeable people I know. And he knows absolutely everyone. I am, of course, talking about the one and only Paul Roffman. How are you doing, Paul?
Very well. A bit overwhelmed by that intro now. I've forgotten everything. I don't know anybody, and I know nothing about anything.
It's all true. I'm a little bit nervous because I don't very often interview somebody who has, part of their career has been interviewing people. And obviously, and we'll talk about this later on, you started your own podcast, which was very successful and very different to this. But I mean, you interviewed some huge names. So you know what interviewing people is like. You know, we've talked about this off camera, so I'm a little bit nervous. So hopefully that won't show too much.
Yeah, don't be nervous. I've sat and watched. I'm going to just say this. I'm going to interject because recently I saw you at the Magic Circle doing your lecture, which ended with a spontaneous standing ovation. And I know about 3 or 4 standing ovations that happened at the Magic Circle. I never stand up. I very rarely even go to the lectures. So, but it was brilliant, and it was brilliant. And it was really relaxed, and it was enjoyable, and it had a sense of humor and just total proper workers magic. That if you are, I just say this is to everyone that's watching. If you're a member of the Magic Circle, you can go and watch people's lectures who lectured there, and Craig's is on there, and I highly recommend that you watch it because there's some really clever stuff, and also some of the stuff is older stuff that you did a long time ago that has actually done the test of time trials and stands up. I mean, stuff with coins that vanish, and honestly, I was with Michael J. Fitch the other day, and we were talking about, like, okay, how do you do this? What did he do? And we were going through a couple of them. And no, brilliant. And what's lovely is, I think your first lecture there was, 15 years ago?
Yes. Yeah, it was.
And I think it was your first ever lecture, wasn't it?
It was my very first lecture.
I was there, and it was a brilliant lecture back then. And then I remember we went to the Ibis afterwards.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, we had a few drinks, and I remember you were nervous. You were so relieved. And what an honor and a privilege to be part of this world and be part of, your existence. That we don't see each other a lot, but we know each other and we know what's going on. And to have trod that path together and been around and watched everyone grow and each other, it's fantastic. So, yeah, just had to put that in.
Thank you. So you have no idea how much that means. It really does. Because you know that I've got all the respect for you in the world, which is why I wanted you on the podcast, and which is why I wanted you on Talk Magic. So thank you. Thank you so much, Paul.
Pleasure.
And turning this back on you, I have a feeling that most people that are listening to this channel will know who you are. I've spoken about you many, many times on this channel, but what I want to do is I want to delve deep into everything, because you have done so much and your career has gone in so many different directions. And I think this is going to be something that will be really inspiring for everybody who's listening to this interview to actually find out more about. But for anybody who hasn't heard of you yet, I want to start at the very beginning. A lot of interviews do that, and I want to give people a frame of reference. Start at the very beginning. Can you tell us how you got into magic? What's your origin story? If how did it all start?
There was a radioactive spider.
I was hoping you'd say that.
I wish. No, it's a funny thing, actually, my magic story, because it kind of it starts late, and then it goes back and remembers things that it had forgotten.
Okay.
So I was doing a play. I was doing a Midsummer Night's Dream in Barnes at the place called the Old Sorting Office. And I was playing Oberon and Theseus. And the puck did a trick because he was dropping the potion into Tanya's eyes to make her fall in love with the first thing she saw. And he did a vanishing silk to drop the potion in, something like that. And I remember watching and thinking, oh yeah, I'm sure he used to do something like that. Oh, that's good. I really like that. Oh, magic. Yeah, that's great. And this was around 2000 and gosh, I'm losing track of time now. 5 or 6. Yeah, it must have been 2000. Yeah, something like that. And I thought, that's brilliant. And we were in the pub afterwards, and he was going through what he did, and I said, oh yes, you did it like that. And oh, I must go back to a magic shop. I used to go to magic shops, and I remembered that when I was a kid, I used to go with my dad to Hamley's, and I would beg him to take me to Hamley's on a Saturday. My mum and dad were divorced, so the weekend father, and anything to kind of keep me entertained or not. And we'd go to Hamley's, and we'd get that. Do you remember that plastic bubble stuff that you blew in the tube?
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, I think they still got it. Probably not as poisonous as it was back then. But we used to get that, and then I used to get all these tricks. I can even remember I had Tenyo trick. I had squeeze play. Do you remember squeeze play?
I do, yes.
With the 2 plastic dicks and the little thing in between and the cup, and you went. And I remember playing with that and watching it and even knowing how it worked. I was amazed. I could watch myself do that, and I had the cigarette that went, the middle went like the zigzag cigarette, and rope that turned into silk. And I remember buying all those stuff when I was really young. And then I also remembered, and I'd really forgotten all this, that I used to watch Paul Daniels' magic show religiously. I mean, it was my favorite thing as a kid when I was young, when I was like 10, I guess. And my uncle reminded me that I used to do magic tricks. And my dad's ex-girlfriend said to me, well, obviously you got into magic now because you always did magic. And I don't know where my brain went, but because I always wanted to be an actor. So from like the age of 12, I was in Macbeth at school, and I played Lennox, small part, Scottish noble. And I think I was the only person whose voice had broken. And I remember the school secretary saying, oh, Paul, you were very good. And I was like, oh, yes, I quite like that. And that was the beginning of wearing tights, which I've hated ever since, but have worn on numerous occasions, not for my own secret pleasures. Yeah, so I've done all that magic, but at school, I don't really remember doing it. And I got into acting, and I really wanted to act. And as a kid, I'm sort of jumping about, and I'll come back to the bit where the Midsummer Night's Dream, because it's kind of a tentpole moment. But as a kid, my mum used to be in the Young Variety Club.
Oh, okay.
So it was an amateur theatre group, which it was actually a Jewish theatre group originally. I think it was called Bar Kochba, and it became, or it either merged or it became the Young Variety Club of Great Britain. So as a kid, like 3 or 4 years old, my mum would be doing amateur musicals, and she'd do Fiddler on the Roof and South Pacific and whatever else. And I'd be dragged along to these rehearsal rooms. And I even remember there was that church in Pimlico where they used to rehearse. And I've rehearsed there many times since in many different jobs and courses and what have you. And I used to go and I used to watch rehearsals, and I would know every single song. I would know every song. I would know every move. I loved it. And I remember seeing South Pacific when I was about 4 or 5. And there was another kid who played the kid in South Pacific. And he sang the song, Dites-moi pourquoi la vie est belle, etc., etc. And I remember sitting there full of envy and hatred because he was doing it and I wasn't. I was about 4. I wasn't even right, but I really wanted to, I really liked it. So I've always liked performing. I've always liked singing. I've always liked dance. Well, I'm not really a dancer, but I used to go to dance classes as really young, as a kid, jazz dance and all that sort of stuff. And I wanted to be an actor. And then I was, my big inspirations were people like Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman, Richard Dreyfuss, who I'm often said look like a young Richard Dreyfuss. Although as I'm getting older, I'm probably sort of like the middle-aged Richard Dreyfuss now. But those were my inspirations. And I remember having the video recorder when we had our video recorder, and I would record everything on the TV, and I used to catalogue all the films. I would catalogue everything. I had a list of like 100 films. It's like Digital Force Bag. And you could pick any film, and it would always be Raging Bull. But I would watch these films endlessly, and I would go to the video store, and I'd be sick off school, and then I'd sneak out and get more videos and watch everything. And I love films and I love theatre. And I was going to, with my mom, I used to go to the theatre all the time as a kid and as a teenager and as an adult. And so that was what I loved. But I also was very lucky, very fortunate. I got a really good education. And I got, because of my mum, she was like really, always wanted me to go to Westminster School. And I'm not an academic, but I was just good enough. And I got in and I went to Westminster Underschool, went to Westminster School. And that was amazing because it was a school by Westminster Abbey, right in the heart of London. I was a day boy. You could be a weekly boarder or a day boy. And I was like, I'm not going to be a fucking boarder because they know enough about what I do. I don't want them to know what I want to be free in the evenings and do my own shit. But they had great, I loved it. Because I remember being at school thinking, I have to be at school. So bearing in mind, I have to be at school. Where else would I want to be? And I remember very clearly having that conversation with myself and saying, there's nowhere. This is amazing. And so at school, I was acting and I was looking for every opportunity to act. So I would do enough work so they couldn't kick me out, but I could do as many plays and music concerts and anything like that I could get my hands on. And I was about 14. So Westminster started at 13. I was at the underschool and then went to Westminster at 13 after common entrance. And then I think it was about 13 or 14 that my housemaster said to me, oh, do you want to be the lead in the house play? And it was called Fear of Heaven. I can't remember who it was by. And it was me and a guy called Orlando Wells, who was Susanna York's son, the actress Susanna York. And Orlando wanted to be an actor as well. So it was me and him. We were like the two leads in this play. And it was about a really prudish, the two guys find themselves in a hospital beds in Italy. And they wake up and they see Leonardo da Vinci, the fingers, I think it's Da Vinci pointing at each other, and they think they're in heaven. And one of them thinks he hasn't lived and doesn't do anything, but he's like a sexual predator. He's done everything. He's completely outrageous. And the other one is the exact opposite of that. And we were these characters, and it was amazing. It was amazing, and it was very rare that they offered that to anyone who wasn't like 16 in the sixth form or something. So I loved that. I got to do all that sort of thing. And then I got to do I wish I'd been a bit more forceful about putting on my own stuff, and a bit more. There were a couple of plays I wanted to do that I should have really grabbed the bull by the horns and done them myself anyway. There was, I remember I wanted to do Sam Shepard, Fool for Love. And Sam Shepard, was a very famous actor, he was in The Right Stuff, he was an amazing playwright, up there with Arthur Miller. And it was always about kind of the American dream gone wrong, really. True West being one of his famous plays. Bearing in mind I'm about 14 or 15, and I want to do Sam Shepard's Fool for Love. And I remember giving it to the drama teacher, and he was like, no, you can't do it. It's like, why not? It's like, well, the opening lines are, your fingers smell of what? Pussy. And I was like, why not? What's wrong with that? What's wrong? It's art. This is art, for God's sake. So ironically, I saw about 10, 15 years ago, they did bloody Fool for Love, didn't they? Bastards. So anyway, I digress. So yeah, I did that. And then I did an exchange. I always liked America. Always used to go to America. Had some cousins in America. So we used to go. And as a kid, I went to, they lived in Baltimore, I think, back then, when I was really young. And when I was about 3, I went with my mum, and we did a long trip to America, and we went to LA, we went all over the place. And she was thinking about moving out there. And it didn't happen. And so I always had an attachment to Los Angeles and America. And when I was in the sixth form at Westminster, I did an exchange. I knew they did an exchange to Boston, to a place called Milton Academy. And so I got to go in the sixth form for about 3.5 months.
Wow.
To a high school in America. Now, remember, I grew up, and at the time when it was, what was I watching? Weird Science and Back to the Future and Porky's. I watched The Exorcist at 8 years old, so, you know, that sums me up. But it was all that kind of, there was that kind of thing, you know, America in the 80s was like super cool. It was Top Gun, and it was, you know, we all wanted to be American. It was jeans, and it was cool, and they you know, got it right. And it was so. Anyway, I did Milton Academy when I was 17. I was 17. Had a fake ID because you had to be 21 to drink there. But actually, I never had to use it because I just became very English. I'll have a vodka, please. Yes. Bottle of wine. Oh, thank you. Yeah. No, I don't need to show you my ID. And and the dorm I was in, they said I stayed in this house on campus, and the boys sent me out to the liquor store to buy booze for everybody, and we all got pissed on the golf course. I got very, very drunk and had the falling in love with the girl at 17, and I got invited to the prom, and I was a junior, because they have junior and senior was the last 2 years there, and it's the senior prom, but I was a junior, so you had to be invited by a girl in the senior year. So I got invited, and I had a little fun in the back of a Cadillac, but that's another story. That's
wow.
And then when I went back to Westminster, I was meant to do all this work there as well, but I was on my own agenda in America. So I would go to the class. I was doing French, history of art, and English at school for A level. So I was like, well, those are the subjects that I'm going to do. And at that level in America, you're meant to do math as well. And so I kind of went to the math class and sat there, put my sunglasses on, I think fell asleep, and then had a word with the teacher. And I was like, look, I'm not doing maths. It's a bit of a waste of time. You know, there's no point me being here. So just ignore me. Don't have me in your class. And I managed to get it. Anyway, so I did all that. And I came back to England, and it was sixth form and remove in that's what they called it at Westminster, you know, your A-level years. And so I basically missed most of my first sixth form year and hadn't done really enough work, but kind of blagged my way through. And then in my final year, they were doing Guys and Dolls, and I could play Nathan Detroit. And so that's got to be a lot more valuable than doing A-levels. So I was like, Nathan Detroit, I'll play Nathan Detroit. And it was great. And I remember my housemaster being very annoyed and writing a report like, Paul's got his A-levels, they're really important. You shouldn't be doing a play in his final year. And I was like, yeah, fuck off. That's exactly what I should be doing. And so I did Guys and Dolls, much more valuable than my A-levels. And it was much more valuable than my A-levels. Can't remember my A-levels at all. So, and then I would have gone to university. I didn't get my offer, which would have been Manchester at the time. But to be honest with you, if I'd gone to university, I just would have been stoned.
Yeah.
And doing plays. And that's all I would do. I would have done English, and I would have done as little as possible and got involved in theatre groups probably.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to drama school. I went to Mount View, did 3 years at Mount View, acting and musical theatre. So I was very clear what I wanted to do. And it took me 3 attempts to get into drama school, by the way.
Really?
So there's a thing. There's a commonality of having to do things again and again. And I will throw a word out on that. It's called endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
Endeavor. It's really important. And you touched on it earlier. You've done this and you've done that, and you've done this and you've done that. And have you, successful? What is successful? And it's really important, this stuff. I think about it a lot, and I think, you don't fail in life. You fail when you don't get off the couch.
Yeah.
You don't fail when you try.
Yeah. Yeah. That is very, very true. It's something that I truly believe in. And everyone has their own definition of success. You can't measure your own definition of success against somebody else because they might be after different things.
Absolutely. And I was talking to someone as well recently, and they said, don't move the goalposts. They said, because when you endeavor to do something, you try and do something, you achieve something, whatever that thing is, enjoy the fact that you achieved it, and you're allowed to give yourself a pat on the back. Our British kind of mentality is often quite like, I did that thing and it wasn't a big deal. No, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah.
And you need to go, it's a big deal. Well done. Doesn't mean you need to go, just sit basking in it indefinitely, but you need to give yourself a little pat on the back before you set the next challenge. And there are multiple challenges, and they're all happening at once, and you can't really differentiate them, but you have to take them on board, and you have to say, I tried to do that. And it's like, you don't start as a great magician. You don't start with a deck of cards able to do amazing card sleights. It has to start somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so it's really, really important, endeavor and trying. And the funny thing is, it's true. It's annoying and it's the cliche, but the more you try and the more you put out, the more comes back to you and the more things happen. But you've got to recognize it. And what happens is, I think some people don't recognize They don't recognize what's important and what success is. And it's not getting the Oscar, and it's not getting the accolade. Look, all of that's lovely. We all love those things. But every time you reach that point, well, it all starts again. That's done. That's history. You know, nostalgia is a very dangerous thing. It's nice to look back and recognize things, but it's gone.
Yeah.
It's, you know, yesterday's gone. It's now. So I think that's a really important thing. And you know, because I wanted to do those things, I got to go to Boston, and I got to go to Milton Academy, and I got to go to drama school, and I got to do Guys and Dolls, and I got to do all those things that they're little successes.
Yeah.
You know, and they shaped my personality, my experience, my character, all of those things. And so I came out of drama school, and God, I did a million different jobs. I've worked since I was, I don't know, 13, 14. I used to do little summer jobs and holiday jobs, and and I've always done lots of different things. It doesn't mean I was very good at them or very committed to them or anything, but I did a lot of things. I worked in a leather shop, leather jacket shop. Used to sell leather jackets, and always used to go back and do that job. I worked in Selfridges, in Yves Saint Laurent, selling shirts. I worked in warehouses, moving boxes. I've worked in a sandwich shop, done everything in there from cleaning the toilet to washing up to making sandwiches, not at the same time, to running it, to waiting, to I've done events organizing. I've been sent to Cyprus to organize events for corporate clients where I don't even know what I'm doing, and I'm just told, meet the clients and here's a number of someone and be ready to organize anything and just deal with it. I did a conference in Monte Carlo where we're chopping to this thing and that thing. I don't even know. It's crazy. I've done so many things, but they're great because, again, they inform you and they give you experiences and they help you meet people. So I came out of drama school, did I think my first gig was Robinson Crusoe around Italy, like a TIE tour, theatre and education. Awful, but good experience. And I thought I was young Marlon Brando coming out of drama school. And one of the first jobs I got was Panto as the Saucy of Sidcup in green tights. They're the tights again. And Peter Duncan directed and produced that. Really? Sylvester McCoy was in that. Vaz Blackwood was in that. I hate Panto.
But hey, at least you're working, you know. At least you're working, and at least you're doing what you love, which is important. You know, because you're talking about all these other jobs that you're doing, you know, selling leather jackets and working in warehouses. You know, even a Panto would be a million times better than that. At least you're on stage in front of people living your dream, right?
Amazing experiences. And it's good for you when you're young, when you think you know everything, to have to come up against stuff and deal with stuff. And you know, that's really important. It's character building, and it's, you know, you don't know the answers and you don't have it all. And all of that was, you know, it was cool. And so, you know, via a million other things, we get to that Midsummer Night's Dream, and I see the magic, and I go, oh, and I go to Davenport's.
Okay.
So I find like Davenport's. And of course, I used to go to Alan Allen's shop as well as a kid. I forgot that as well. And so I go to Davenport's, and I go in there, and I'm like, what? I want to learn some magic, but I don't want the sort of self-working. I want something like the proper stuff. And I think one of the first times I went in there, Christian Lee and Max Somerset were at the desk there, And I got chatting to them. And Max was in an awful mood because he was had a court case going on, and Christian Lee was very charming and chatty. And we kind of somehow we ended up exchanging numbers, and that's when I first met Max Somerset. He became one of my closest friends, and I've worked with a lot.
And obviously, recently you were the best man at his wedding.
I was the best man at his wedding, and I gave the speech, and I talked about meeting him at the at Davenport's and that moment, and yeah, it's wow, what a journey. And that was like the beginning of the magic journey. And then I forgot I worked at Marvin's Magic.
You forgot that you worked at Marvin's Magic? How did that even? What? How old were you when you worked at Marvin's Magic?
About 19.
Okay.
So I can't remember. I remember going up for it, and it was probably in the stage or something, job for actors. And I think Mark Paul interviewed me. And I didn't know about the magic scene. I didn't know people in the magic world, really. I knew a bit about David Berglass. I knew Paul Daniels. And to me, Marvin's Magic job was a sales job. It was a selling job. It was a selling gig. It was cool because it was about magic, but then you quickly realize it was a sales gig. It wasn't a magic gig. And I think I did it for one summer or something. And I was the magician at D.H. Evans. And then I sometimes would get farmed out to Hamleys or Selfridges or Harrods. They made me dress up as a wizard at Harrods. It was really annoying. And yeah, and I remember at Hamleys, they used to have this like executive range, and they had this really good stuff. They had really cool. Marvin was like bringing out some high-end stuff, and I wanted to play with that, but they didn't want me to play with that because you weren't selling, truckloads of it. So yeah, I'd done that, and I completely, kind of forgot because I just kind of put it aside. It didn't really leave that kind of imprint. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
That was Michael J. Fitch trying to interrupt me.
He is that type of guy. He does do that a lot.
He'll probably ring again. I just know it. So I did all that. Went to Davenport's, met Max Somerset. Oh, there's a weird insect here. And then and then that was the kind of beginning of the magic journey. And I went into that Dabs, and I was like, give me something that was takes a bit more thought and skill. And I remember watching some Leonard Green stuff, and I really liked it. And then I went to International. I remember getting the Leonard Green videos. It might have been, I think it was the cusp of the change from video to DVD. Yeah. And they were like, Leonard Green stuff's really, really difficult. I was like, yeah, but I like it. It's really good. I really like it. I don't do any Leonard Green stuff per se, but I loved it, and I loved that. And he had that kind of narrative as well. He had a kind of thought process, and it was really engaging. So yeah, and then of course, and then Darren also sort of happened around then. And as I'm saying this, I'm remembering it was Blaine and it was Darren.
Yeah, they both were kind of on the scene at roughly the same time.
Yeah, did they pop up at the same time?
Roughly the same time. Yeah, I think they were kind of. I think Blaine might have been a little bit before.
A little bit before. So I was definitely watching that. And Blaine, I loved Blaine. And that first special, I think. And then when Darren came, well, it all changed as well. I think it changed for magic.
It did. Did you feel torn? Because obviously your career path was very fixed in that you'd spent your entire life studying magic, studying musical theatre, studying acting, and you had a very clear goal that you wanted to be an actor. Then all of a sudden, you see a magic trick, you meet Max Somerset, and now you're buying magic tricks, which is in many ways taking you off the path that you were very focused towards going down at that point. Was that an issue, or did you kind of just think, you know what, I can do both things at the same time? Or did you think maybe magic is going to help as an actor? You know, I'm going to have an extra skill for the CV. What was kind of going through your mind at that point?
That's a really interesting question. And it was, there was always that problem that if I jump off this boat onto that boat, then I'm going to leave that boat. And I don't want to do that, and I don't want to give up. And but it was quite enticing to suddenly get paid for a gig. This was good. You know, this wasn't some ropey fringe theatre piece on profit share. You're getting properly paid. And I decided to give myself a year and focus properly on the magic.
Okay.
So I was like, it was kind of like in my mind, this is a year out and I'm going to work on magic in order to be a working magician, not because as a hobby. It was like, as I went into Davenport to do that, it was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to earn money.
Yeah.
And what's the Ron Walton card with the card? Card Warp.
Card Warp, yeah.
Card Warp. I go into Dabs and there's someone in there, and I go, I want a really good trick that's like, you know, worth learning and that would be a proper bit of magic. And he went, he goes, I was in, he said, oh yeah, the other day I was in the pub and I did this trick and they hired me for 250 quid. And suddenly I was working as a magician. I was like, oh wow, that's good. It's like, yeah, it's that pamphlet. You should buy that pamphlet. And I thought, I could do that and probably better than you. So I bought the pamphlet. I thought it, I didn't say it. And I bought it. And it's still a great trick. Card Warp, what a great, great trick.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. And it's one of those tricks, again, that you know, when you start in magic and you see a trick, I'll tell you another one, Jay Sankey in a flash.
Yeah.
And you kind of put them aside because you think, oh, I did it when I started. And you suddenly come back to them because they're so impactful. Because why did you feel that when you first started and so moved by those tricks? Because they're really good. Because they are impactful. You know, in a flash, fire, penetration, location of a card, sign card. I mean, so many things happen.
Absolutely.
Card Warp, incredible, with 2 cards that you don't do anything.
Yeah.
They can inspect. And incredible. And so I was really, I did, and then I bought the Paul Harris Art of Astonishment books. And I was like, wow. Just full of amazing. And I used to take Post-it notes and I'd go through and I'd just stick little Post-it notes sticking out at the tricks that I thought were great. And then I would refer, and I was watching a lot of that sort of underground Sankey stuff when he was really good. And there would be tricks where he'd describe a move, and it would be, I didn't know the move, I didn't know what it meant. So I'd have to go, I would work on a trick, but then I'd have to find out what the move was and then readapt it into the trick. And that was good. That was quite an exciting time. And it was a lot harder to find that stuff then. It wasn't the internet, YouTube and search engine, everything. So that was all fun. That was kind of good. So in terms of, to answer your question, yeah, it did. I was a bit worried about losing the acting, but I needed to start getting somewhere. I needed to earn money. And I thought to myself, well, this is performing. You know, I'm not really not performing. I am performing. And so I get to use the skills that I've got. And then I met magicians and I thought, you know what? I'm way ahead. Yes, I don't know slides. I don't know all the slides. I don't know all the information. but I know how to perform. I know how to be on a stage. I know how to talk to anybody. I know how to approach people. I'm confident. It's never a big deal for me to do that sort of thing. So I thought, actually, I got a head start. That's interesting. Yeah. And then I really worked in it, and I found the books I like. I remember like Strong Magic was one of the first books. Love the book. I won't say more than that. The book is really good. Tangled Web, Eric Mead.
Yeah.
That was one of the first books, the Art of Astonishment books. And then I started buying books like crazy and dipping in and reading and researching. And then I joined the Magic Circle within about 6 months of all of that.
Yeah. And
worked on my routine, and I did a trick from the Art of Astonishment. I had an Alakazam Stealth Assassin wallet, did stuff from that. I had I did Overkill from Art of Astonishment, and ended with I had a t-shirt. It was Noel Coulter actually gave me this one, and he's like, you should get a t-shirt printed with the 7 of Hearts on it. I think that was the card. And I've got my suit and booted, and I'm doing the multiple revelation. I was like, oh, and this morning, I was getting ready for the circle. I was so bleary-eyed. I needed a coffee. I grabbed the first t-shirt I could put on. I put my suit on, and I start getting undressed, and I revealed the 7 of Hearts. And I'll never forget, at the end of my audition, someone came up to me and said, did you come up with that trick? And I was like, no, it's Art of Astonishment. He's like, really? Slightly adapted it, slightly added to it. But I was like, okay, that's cool. And then I got into the circle, and that changed everything again. And then I made lifelong friends and met amazing people. And wow, what started to happen with magic was it started to open doors. We touched on this before we started recording, but suddenly you start building a business, and then you have to take the business side seriously. So I started building this magic business, and I quite liked it.
Yeah. But
the downside was I wasn't really focusing on the acting, but it was still hard. It was hard here because, it's a very difficult business to get into, and there's no direct path to doing it. Whereas with magic, especially at that point as well, there was a way to get into magic and get gigs. You could, like they say, you can always get one gig with someone. Yeah. It's getting rebooked. Yeah. Is the skill. And so I went out to blag it. And I think, I started trying to do, there was a point when I thought I was okay to start doing gigs. And I think Max offered me a gig early on. And I don't think I can't remember. He went, you're ready, go and do it. And I did this gig. Here's a story. So I did this gig for a big law firm, and Max gave it to me. The week before, I was at the Magic Circle, and Faye Presto said to me, do you do, I'm being careful here because I'm not going to impressions. I so want to, but she said to me, I do the cut and restored rope. And I was like, I'm not into rope magic. And she's like, honestly, I do the cut and restore rope at gigs. You should do the cut and restore rope. It's an amazing trick. She said, come with me to Soho House. I'll teach you this cut and restore rope. So me and Max go to Soho House with her. We go upstairs, and she teaches me the cut and restore rope. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Why is it brilliant? I'll tell you why it's brilliant. Because it's incredibly visual. It's impossible. It translates into every single language because it doesn't need any language. You can do it stand up. You can create a whole crowd of people and they can all see it. You can do it around a table and you can get everyone involved. You know that idea, you know that thing when you go to a table and there's a table of 10 or 15, you can get everybody with the cut and restored rope. And if you can't, you know, go into car maintenance or something because you don't know what you're doing. You can get everybody. So I learned the cut and restored rope, and I learned phase version, and then I adapted it down the line. I changed it, and I'm, you know, to make it my version. So I go to this law firm gig, and it's about a 3-hour gig, and you know, I've not been gigging, so I'm exhausted, and I'm trying to like keep going and like have a moment that I can go to the loo and have a glass of water, but that's about it, because I think you've got to just keep cracking on, and I'm sweating, and I go over to a bloke and I do the cut and restored rope, and he loves it. He goes, "Oh, come with me, come and meet this guy. He writes for the Times. Show him." So I show him the cut and restored rope. The next day, in the blog in the Times, there's an English thing. There you see, I kind of pushed it down. Instead of me just going, "It was the Times," I kind of went, "It was a blog in the Times." It wasn't really. But he writes in the Times, "If Paul Roffman could walk on water, he'd beat Jesus Christ," and blah, blah, blah. And he did this trick and la, 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 la. My first gig. Quote, website, bang.
That's great. That's great.
Don't think you know it all. Don't negate the tricks that you think you don't want to do. You don't know. Maybe you don't want to do. Maybe they're not right for you, but maybe they are. Play with them. Who knows? I don't know. Make them yours. Play with them. Max always does that. Max will show me some magic trick, and I go, "Oh, just ridiculous, rubbish." And then he puts a spin on it, and you go, "That's a fantastic trick."
Yeah. Here's a question. You know, you said that you were taking a step back from acting for a year to get good at magic. I've got a couple of questions of that. You openly said it's not a hobby, it was a business. You wanted to build an income stream from magic. Did the choice of tricks that you were picking, you said you bought lots of books and so on and so forth, approaching it as wanting to build a business and having that mindset as opposed to, I'm going to take this on as a hobby, did that affect what you decided to learn or what you decided to do because you were looking at it in a different way, do you think?
Probably. I mean, we were all very influenced by Darren at that point.
Yeah.
And the mentalism side of things, which I am also, he wasn't really calling himself a mentalist. There were all these mentalists.
Psychological illusionist, wasn't it?
Psychological illusionist. He didn't really, it was mind magic he talked about. And a lot of the stuff he did was really magic, but just cloaked differently.
Yeah.
And there were all these mentalists that started springing up and calling themselves mentalists and being very, it's mentalism and you can't do magic and you have to do mentalism and it can only be mentalism. And I was like, bollocks, it can. I mean, Dan Alexander we used to do this restaurant called Frantoio in the King's Road. It used to be his residency, and I used to cover for him, and then I took it over for a bit. And Dan, who's a great working magician, he used to do great. He was very good in the restaurant, and he used to do a mind reading sponge bunny routine. Where, you know,
of course he did.
Yeah, of course he did. Where, you know, they thought of a number, and that was the number of bunnies that appeared, and it was like, there you go, you can do that. It's all about framing and narrative, and so you can do anything. So yeah, I chose. I was into the psychological stuff. I thought that was great, and it suited me. And then stuff with a narrative where you have to tell a story, I've got a head start. I can do that, and I had a talk. So it's a good idea to do stuff that kind of fits your personality. But I loved, you know, like I said, I was doing. I was thinking, what was a good effect? So in a flash, why is that a good effect that a corporate do? Yeah. Because you do it at a table, fire, gasps, screams, amazing coin finding a card, sign card, penetration, and everybody hears it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will see fire.
Yeah.
So, wow. there's a good reason that's a good trick.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But simple as that.
I think you talked about Michael J. Fitch earlier. I remember him saying to me once, you add flash paper to a routine, whatever the routine is, it makes it 20 times better.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because, you know, I would go out with Fire Wallet and Extreme Burn. And, you know, I'd go over to people and go, interrupt them. Oh, excuse me, sorry, boom, and you're off and running. Now that's kind of, it's a good way in, and it's a bold way in, and it's a good way because, yeah, fire. It's a kind of easy way in. I think it's a good approach. I don't think it's a very sophisticated approach. And I think as I got older and more experienced, I almost quite like to test myself and like, could you just go over to people, start talking to them and get into magic? Now that's quite hard, I think. And don't get me wrong, open Fire Wallet, boom, that you've completely disarmed everybody and you're in. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But can you do it another way? It's quite interesting. So there's always that part of me as well that likes to kind of test myself or think about another way of doing things. And I'm not saying there's a right way. I actually don't think there's a right way because it depends how you do it.
That's very true. In that year that you were doing magic, and obviously we can go on beyond that in a minute, a lot of what you've mentioned, Art of Astonishment, Card Warp, Inner Flash, Flash Paper, Restaurant Residences, it's all about close-up magic. But obviously your experience up until that point was on stage, musical theatre, performing to audiences. Was there a reason why you didn't kind of gravitate towards stage magic as opposed to close-up magic when you made that decision to go into magic? Was there a reason why you focused on close-up? With your experience on stage, it's probably something you could have done very easily.
It was weird. I was quite nervous doing stage magic. Oh, that was actually, yeah, that was definitely something that I, and it was, I think, even at drama school, the idea of the one-man show on stage was a bit nerve-wracking. It's nice being in a company when you do stage in a play and you're working off other people and you're reacting and interacting. And so I think there was a slight block there. I think, you know, it's interesting you pick up on that because I think there was a slight block. And I also think commercially it was easier to get close-up gigs. Yeah. So I didn't really know how to get into the stage magic thing. And I think it's harder in a way because doing stage magic stroke parlor requires, to do it properly, you need outside input. You need other eyes and you need to, you know, you can rehearse and structure. And I mean, there is that double-edged thing. You've talked about it on some of your interviews and some of your other things where you were talking about, I've heard you talk about stage magic and how you like it because you don't have to keep approaching. You don't have to keep saying, starting again. Yeah. You know, it's great with close-up. You go, hi, bum, Fire Wallet, boom, into the magic trick. They all love you. Great. It's all gone really well. Oh, all right. Well, nice to see you. Oh, shit. Next group. Hi, I'm the...
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. You're constantly winning people over, especially at the end of the gig when you've just been doing it and you still have to be the life and soul. And it's like, hey, you know, it's me. I love close up, but I much prefer stage.
That moment when you that first group of people are so important because you go over to them. And if it goes really nicely and they're on board, then it sets you up nicely. But you go over to that group and they're not the right group, or they hate magic, or whatever it is, or you're just not doing it well, or whatever it is, and you get a kind of no scenario, and it knocks you back, and that's the first group of people you've seen. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
And you got to pick yourself up off the floor and go to, and you're like the next one. Or you're at a gig and you look at a table or you look at a group of people and they're staring at you and you think, oh, they hate me. They hate me. I can see they hate me. Right, I'm not going over to them. And they keep looking at you and you're like, oh, wow, they really hate me. And then the manager says, have you done that table? Can you go over to them? And you go, oh, yeah. And you go over to them and they go, oh, God, something wrong with us? We love magic. Why have you not come over to us?
Yeah.
And you've played this whole narrative in your head, and they love magic the most.
Yeah.
And you go, I was saving the best till last. And they're like, oh, thank God for that. And then you hit them and then they're like, oh, yay. You know, and again, that's setting up these false narratives in your head and endeavor and, you know, don't buy into the negative. We all have our dark periods. We all have our devil on the shoulder going, nah, you're not very good. Don't do it. Oh, he said this. Oh, this isn't good enough. Fuck off.
Yeah.
So what?
Well, on that subject, actually, you know, one question that comes up an awful lot on this channel is people that are magicians, especially newer magicians, that are struggling with imposter syndrome. Is that something that you've ever dealt with, especially like going straight into trying to make magic a business when you've had very little experience? Is that something that you've had to deal with in your career?
Totally, all the time, constantly. Every time I do anything, there's always that little thought. Or acting happens all the time. And then I'm just thinking about those gigs early on. I also thought when I joined the Magic Circle, I also went to every single lecture for the first 3 years.
Wow.
Because I thought to myself, well, this is kind of university. And I should go to every lecture. So I went to, and I had no intention to be a kids magician, but I went to the kids magician lectures. I learned a bit of balloon modeling. I remember learning how to do a Spider-Man balloon online with loads of balloons. And I got books at some kids' party. It took ages, and I would pop them, and then I made a couple in advance, and I did them at a kids' party, and I spent a whole weekend learning it. And I did a few kids' things, and I don't do kids' parties. I've done them. I'm okay. I don't want to do them, but I still did, and I still learned, and I still learned some things from some kids entertainers and mind reader stuff, and you know, everything, all types of magicians. After that 3 years, then I was like, okay, you don't have to go to every lecture anymore. You can pick and choose. You've seen a lot now. Yeah. So you've got a body, you've got a grounding. It's okay. You can be a bit more selective.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think that's really important. Really important.
It's really good. That's really good. So here's right. So you took a year off to build up this magic business, but it sounds like it became very successful, and it almost took over longer than a year, and almost superseded the acting. But I know that you've, in your career, had some incredible highs as an actor since then, in many different ways. And so what happened? Like, you're building this big business. You've become you're in London, so there's no shortage of work. It's in a period of time where everybody wants to book a magician. You've mastered your craft. You're getting better and better at gigs. What happened? Did you think, you know what, the acting thing, I don't need it, I've got this? Or did the bug come back and bite? Like, where did we go to get back to?
Well, round about when was the crash? 2008?
Yeah.
So I set myself up to be a corporate magician predominantly. And so I thought, right, I'm going to head for the corporate market. That's going to be me. I'd suit that. You know, I can be clever and whatever and talk, and that's going to be money market. And I didn't concentrate on the wedding market. And so I didn't do many weddings. I hadn't done any. Maybe I did 1 or 2. And so the crash happened and the market vanished. The market that didn't vanish was the wedding market. because if people had booked weddings in 2008, they'd already booked them. So they were already going to happen anyway. So there was lots of weddings still happening. So you could still stay alive doing that. And I went completely cold. And so that was, I remember that was a kind of crazy period. And I also, I wanted to act, and I still carried on doing that. And I'd done a bunch of fringe theatre plays here, and the odd short film, and terrible short films, awful. And then I wanted to go to America, and I had started. I did a week. Like, there was a guy who did kind of Explore Hollywood week, and so Industry Hollywood it was called, and we went off, a group of 15 of us, and he'd organized casting director meetings and commercial casting auditions and agency visits and workshops. It was really good. I mean, he got some great people. There was an acting coach called Amy Linden who we went to, she was hysterical. She was kind of like really brassy and ballsy, and she was from New York, and she was like, I don't give a shit if you act the shit out of this. It's all about booking the job. It's all about booking the job. And she had this thing called cold reading, not magic cold reading, but cold reading in the sense that here's a script, have a read of that, you've got half an hour, and come in an audition and get as much off the script as you can, because you got to book the job. And so there were all these acting classes like Meisner technique, where certain techniques that you go to classes and you do these things and you work on this. And she's like, I don't give a shit. You can Meisner the shit out of this when you get the part, but this is about making an impact, doing it right. If you get the chance for a second go at it, great, do it. But nobody cares unless you get the part. And then you can do all your amazing techniques and whatever afterwards. And I loved her. She was amazing. And she has a book, Amy Linden, if anyone's interested, check her out. She has a method where you kind of go through the script and you kind of write in it and you paraphrase what people say and you write it down. And I did her technique once in one of her classes there, and it was about 6 pages. I'm terrible at learning lines. And I was virtually off book in about 40 minutes. I had the script in my hand and 6 pages, and I was just doing this scene. And it was because I was listening to the other actor, and I'd written all these thoughts, and it kind of worked. And so her technique was amazing. So we did all that, and we were in LA, and it was all very enticing and very glamorous and cool. And of course it was, because we had everything on a platter. Mm-hmm. You're going into like ICM, the top agency, and meeting the top agent and sitting in the amazing offices looking over Hollywood. Of course, you're not getting a job, you're just meeting them, they're giving you their advice, and then you do some classes and they record some video. It was great. So through that, I was like, okay, I'm going to try and get an O1 visa, which is a 3-year working visa for America. And I've been trying from about that time. And this lawyer that I was dealing with, it was, I don't know, going back and forwards, and they were a bit shady, and they left the agency and they went somewhere else. And anyway, this went on for years. Again, I'm in Marbella, because my dad used to live in Marbella. And he loved the magic. I mean, he loved it. He always loved me doing magic, playing the guitar, he go to shows, loved it all. And I managed to wrangle a gig. I got some close-up gigs there, and then I managed to wrangle this big stage show in a club. I had no idea what I was going to do. called up Max. I went, Max, I've got a stage show in Marbella. I don't know what I'm going to do. He went, I'll fly over. And they paid like a decent whack. And he came over for nothing virtually. I can't remember. Did I pay his airfare? I put him up. And he came over and we did the show together at, I don't know, 11 in the evening. We had a translator translating into Spanish. It was useless. We were better off not having the translator, but we did it. He did a electric chair routine, I remember. We did some mind reading stuff. You know, he's brilliant. He came up with all this stuff. He had a card sword. It was crazy. And we got through this gig and it didn't look like we were going to get paid. And I somehow managed to get paid in cash, whatever it was. And it was a nice gig at the time. And then I drove him back that night, barely stayed awake, and got him out. And and when we were there, we're up in this place called Estepona, which is this little village, if you like, which was slightly up in the mountains, and it only had a road up into it, and then it didn't go elsewhere. You could go up into it and down out of it. And we had this really nice meal, I'll never forget. And I get a call from my lawyer, and he goes, well, they've approved your O1 visa. I was like, oh, great. So can we start it maybe in 6 months, start it ticking? It's like, no, it started ticking already. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's 3 years. So I'm not ready to go. You've got the crash. Then there was the actor strike in Hollywood. And so now this 3-year working visa that I've kind of plotted and planned for years is ticking. I can't afford to go, got no money. I'm in my flat. I've got a flatmate. So I carry on. And then this is around. So that must have been around 2010, actually.
Okay.
So we're on the edge of that period. And then around, because then I think I went out there in 2012, or maybe I went out in 2010. I can't remember. No, it must have been 2010 I went out there. Yeah, so 2008, 2010, I'm on the last 6 months of the 3 years is coming up. And my flatmate says to me, it was November or December, he says, oh, I've got a mate who could rent your room out for 6 months. And I was like, oh, I could probably get out to LA. So I thought that works. So the guy who was living here, his best friend, rented my room for 6 months, and I toddled off to LA for 6 months.
Wow. On the last 6 months of your 3 year
On the
visa.
last 6 months of the 3-year working visa. And then we moved on to another thing.
And then what was the goal over that? So you've basically just effectively put your magic business on hiatus and just gone, fuck it. Let's see what happens. Did you have a plan? Did you have a contacts? Did you have anything? Or was it just, let's turn up, knock on some doors and see what happens?
No. Then we move into the arrival in LA is another chapter.
Okay.
That's like turn the page into another chapter of things. And I'm just at the point where I've started to work again, earning money. I'm in a relationship as well. That didn't go down so well either. That's been ticking through the whole thing. We stayed together during that 6 months as well. But I was always, I'm this guy I was always going to go to LA. I was always going to do these things. I was always, or I was going to die. So I'm either going to die or I'm going to do all these things. That's what's going to happen in life.
Yeah.
If I walk out the door and a satellite lands on my head and kills me, that's about the only thing that's going to stop me trying to do these things. Yeah. So, I get to LA
With no plan.
Um,
An annoyed partner and
yeah.
and no money.
A little bit of money. I had enough to kind of, rent, and yeah, I was okay to survive for that period of time.
Okay.
And yeah, because things have probably come back by then. I think if we're about
2010, things had started to come back in.
Yeah, and I'd probably been working right, probably had a decent enough Christmas that Christmas. And then I always had,
Actually, I think I remember 2010 being pretty good because they cancelled everything in 2008 and 2009. I remember.
But I also, my mum was always an amazing support, and she was always like, go out and do it, and maybe. So, and I've always been like, I'm not I'm not an abuser of the privileges that I get and the things I do, and I don't go crazy, and I'm not there to go wild and lose it and get into some drug infested madness and drunk drinking, and that's not me. I'm like, okay, how do I meet people? How do I do things? What's going on? What shall I do? I don't know what's going on. So, God, I feel like I'm just going on and on and on.
I'm absolutely loving this. If you can see my seat, I'm on the edge of it. This is great.
So we hit LA, and there's a lot of lessons in this, and I keep saying it. Do it. Do things. Just do it. Be like Nike. Just do it. I mean, just do it. Do shit in life. It goes by very quickly. Don't turn around and go, oh, I wish I'd done that thing. I hate those people who come up to me when they talk to you and they go, oh, I loved acting when I was a kid. I always wanted to do acting. Oh, what did you do? Oh, I'm an accountant. Well, great. But, oh, I could have done an acting. No, you couldn't. You really couldn't.
Yeah.
Oh, I could. Oh, I love magic. Oh, I would love to do. No. It's fucking hard.
Yeah.
And
if it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah. And they wouldn't do it very well. And you can even see it. You see it in times of trial and times of trauma that we've all gone through. These horrendous events that we've partied to as a collective consciousness that we've all been through. But they happen all the time. And there's always something that smacks you in the face.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go by the wayside.
Yeah.
And that's no criticism of them. It's hard. And it's not easy, and you need a bit of luck. You need help, you need support, you need a good family, good friends, there's so many things you need. And we're very lucky, we talked about this before, but we talk about the magic community, and like, you've been in and out of it.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, like, I've always thought of you as a friend throughout the whole experience. And I've seen you, and then when you were doing the Wizard product review back in the day, I would sit there watching that, and it was kind of like I was on the couch with you all that time. So you kind of forget how you know people and, all those things. And God, how lucky are we to be in this magic thing, to have all these amazing friends that we call out these names. And, I go Fitch and Somerset and, incredible, amazing, creative people are cool. Like,
it really is, yeah.
You need something. You go, oh, I know who'll know this. Hello? And most of them will drop everything to have a chat. Yeah,
they will.
They really will. Or work on something with you, or like, it's incredible community. And it's like, and there are a lot of assholes as well, but you know what? Even the assholes I don't mind anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm one of the assholes as well, at some point we all are. And, some are bigger assholes than others, of course. But But some are, some are, even the people you don't like will help you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what an amazing, amazing thing. And the doors and so, just to reiterate, because it's so important, try. Get smacked in the face, fail, because they don't fail. You fail when you don't give it another go. When it all goes wrong, fall off the stage. If you've done a gig, right, I'm going to go to a Craig Petty-esque old school rant.
Please do.
If you haven't done a gig and you tell me that it hasn't gone wrong, you haven't had a bad gig, and you haven't failed, then there's only two things that could be true. One, you're a liar, or the second one, you haven't really worked enough. It's as simple as that. And anyone who just says, oh, it's always great, well, they're lying, or they're deluded, or they don't work. Because that's life.
Yeah.
That's life. And,
I've got a friend. He's a motivational speaker. His name's Brad Burton. And Brad always says, don't have a plan B. Because if you've got a plan B, it means you don't believe in your plan A.
Huh.
And if you don't believe in your plan A and you don't have absolute conviction, then you're never going to get where you want to get. And if you don't believe in your plan A, nobody else will believe in it either.
Yeah. I mean,
which is kind of a little bit like what you were saying about just do it, just.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean, of course, sometimes it's wrong and sometimes you're on the wrong path and sometimes it, really is the wrong path.
Mm.
And that's fine as well. And, I know certainly in acting, loads of people, give it up and they move into something else and they're far happier. They're far happier because it's a horrible existence unless you're working and you'll get an opportunity. It's soul destroying.
Yeah.
But it always amazed me that there weren't more actors who were magicians, because I thought, wow, this is great. You get to use your acting skills, earn money, not have to be a waiter. And there's nothing wrong with being a waiter. I loved being a waiter. I was a great waiter. I could always upsell an apple crumble with ice cream or custard. We've got a homemade apple crumble. Would you like a dessert? We've got homemade apple crumble. I like it. Oh, amazing. But I personally, I'd have the vanilla ice cream, but we got lovely vanilla custard. 3 of those? Yeah. Okay.
Wow. That's your true calling there, Paul. That's amazing.
I was filming with Michael J. Fitch the other day. His daughter's at film school. And we did a little short film with me, Michael, and Tom Wright. And I don't know how much I should say about it. Well, we're 3 magicians living together, and it's a comedy. And I was telling the story about the food and how I could psychologically push people into dessert. At the end of this conversation, they went, should we go to Sainsbury's? Should we get an apple crumble? And they went and got apple crumble and ice cream. But it's no different to magic, is it?
No. Influence,
believe it. And that's an interest, with magic. I think you have to believe. It's, technicals. I'm kind of going off. I'll come back to where we were, but if that idea that you talked about it with the coin, with the invisible coin, if you believe that you have a coin, it's a real coin.
Yeah. And
everybody's going to believe it's real coin. And you put it in your hand, that's real.
Yeah.
Because it's real. That's it. End of story. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
If you don't believe it, why would anyone else believe it? And that's the same in trying to do things. If and that's like that American English thing as well that happens, and they say, "Oh, are you a good actor?" And the British person says, "Well, I'm all right. I'm okay. I've only done." "Oh, okay. And what about you?" "Oh, I'm amazing." "Oh, you're amazing. Okay, great. Let's see what you can do." Because who cares? Get on with it. Stop. I can't. No. Get on with it.
Yeah.
Get on with it. We haven't got time for this nonsense.
Yeah. 100%.
Sorry, I lost my train there. I don't know where we.
Oh no, we were on the 6 months in the States.
6 months in LA. So I get to LA, and there's a thing called Brits in LA on Facebook. It just started, or recently started. A mate of mine, he's on the podcast, a guy called Craig Young, who's an actor, and he starts up the group in LA for Brits in LA, because when he went out there, it was really difficult. You know, like you said, like, what do you do? Who do you know? Well, everything's like impossible.
Yeah.
And, you know, the internet's getting going, and there's that Facebook and communication. So he sets up, there's a group called Brits in LA. So I joined that. I go, there's two stories. So I go, I arrive, and I stay at the Magic Castle Hotel, which is right next to the Magic Castle, which is in Los Angeles, which is on a hill on Franklin Boulevard. I can't remember. Franklin Avenue. And it's near the Hollywood Bowl. Have you been to the castle, haven't you?
I haven't. It's one of the things that I really want to do. I've never been to the castle.
You got to do your act there.
I'd love to.
You got to do your act.
I know that, well, we mentioned him beforehand. John has said he'd like to get me over there. So at some point soon this year, I think I might be going.
Brilliant. You got to cut. Yeah, 100%. You'd go down a storm there. A storm. And so for those who don't know, the Magic Castle is a magic members club in Los Angeles. It has all these amazing rooms of different magic going on, close-up room, parlor room, stage, different Pella, like mixed rooms. It has bars, it has restaurants, and you have to dress up there. You have to wear a suit and tie as a man, or if you identify. Let's not go down that route.
I was wondering where we were going there.
You have to wear smart clothing. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
If you want to wear a dress, you can wear a dress, but it's smart. So you I can get myself in trouble here now.
Oh no! I think you're walking a fine line, and you're doing a great job at it.
Okay, great. I won't do the cancer joke. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
So, yes. Oh, I could just go into a whole thing now, but I won't. So anyway, it was almost like a whole rude stand-up routine, just about to. Anyway, yes, be good, Paul. Right. So I'm at the castle. There's a Magic Castle. Anyway, and you have to be invited by a member. And if you're a member of the Magic Circle, you can go as well. You can, but I think you have to have dinner or something and pay. But if you're a mate of mine, you just come along and we have a laugh. So I stay in the Magic Castle Hotel, which really isn't the Magic Castle, but it's connected to it, and I think it lets you get into the castle. So I spend the first week there, and I'm looking for an apartment to rent. And one of the girls who I went on the Industry Hollywood week, she's going out at the same time. We'd arranged that we were going to find a place and share it. And unfortunately, she was someone who was going through a bit of addiction and on the wrong path.
Yeah.
And she was on this very, very dangerous path. And she went out to Sundance Film Festival, and then she was looking for apartments for us. And then she came and stayed with me at the hotel one night, or a couple of nights, and she was looking up apartments. And when we found this place in Studio City, which is just over the hill, a really nice little apartment, and this Canadian actor, a friend of mine called Mark, who became a friend of mine, he had a 2-bedroom little flat. It's very small, but it was reasonable. And we went and met him, and I remember sitting in his lounge, and I sat in one corner, he sat in the other corner, and she said, you two were like lions summing each other up, kind of growling at each other and talking about stuff. And it was like, okay. And he eventually said, yeah, I'll tell you what, he was going to Canada to do some filming or something. So he was like, you can have she'll have my room, or you'll have my room, you'll have the other room, I'll crash on the couch, and then I'll go, or you'll crash on the couch, and then I'll go, and then you can have the bedrooms. So we're like, oh, this is going to work out well. So I'm like, this is perfect. This is amazing. We both found a place, go back to the hotel. And then she suddenly says to me, oh, I spoke to some friends. I think I'm going to couch surf for a while. And I'm like, what? But we've just found a place. It's really reasonable. It's sharing the cost. Yeah, I think I'm going to couch surf. And I went, right. Have you got a return ticket to London? She's like, yeah. I said, so have I. But I'm not going to use it because of you. So can you fuck off now? And I kicked her out of the hotel because she'd messed me about so much. And this had been going on, you know, all the way up to me going to LA. We'd had these conversations. We were going to find a place, and the whole thing. And then she did that to me. I was like, you know what? Fuck off. Do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, you can be crazy. I'm not interested.
Wow.
So
now you're in a situation where you've got nobody to share the costs with.
And I've like spent my week in the hotel, rented a car that week. You know, that's expensive. But there was one thing that I did with the Brits in LA thing, coming back to Craig, was I didn't know him. He was the guy who started this Brits in LA. And he put on Facebook, I'm flying back from Sundance. Can anyone pick me up from the airport? It was before Uber. And so he'd come up with this brainwave that the community could like put on Facebook for pickups, you know, if you can help pick someone up from the airport. So I thought, that's a good idea. He's probably all right. You know, he runs the thing. It'll be interesting. You know, I'll get to meet this guy. So I go and pick him up from the airport. Gets the car, really lovely fella. And we start driving, and it starts pissing with rain, pouring with rain. And then there's gridlock, traffic jams, and it's going to take 2 hours to get back to should have been like 30 minutes. It's going to take 2 hours, at least 2 hours to get to his place. And he was slightly up in the hills, really lovely little place. And so what an amazing thing to happen. Because now I'm in the car with Sky for 2 hours. We get to chat. Perfect.
It's like a captive audience.
Captive audience. And we get to chat and, you know, get to find out about each other. And he's there. He's got his boyfriend who lives up there. He's acting and he's trying to get his stuff together. And he's a really kind of interesting history. He was in a band, like a boy band called Juice, I think, back in the day. I never heard of them. But Craig's quite talk about endeavor. He's a guy who's all about endeavor. So he just filmed this thing called, what was it called? It was a American TV series. He had this little part in it. And it was a really good little part. He played like a German guy, and he was a bit of a psychopath or something. Fringe. It was a TV series called Fringe.
I remember Fringe.
You remember Fringe?
Yeah, the guy at the Mighty Ducks was in it.
So
Joshua Jackson, that's him. Joshua Jackson.
That's it. That's right. I remember. So I drive him home, drop him off. Lovely fella. The thing happens with this actress friend of mine, Mark, with the apartment. I call up Craig and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do, because we were going to take this place. Now I don't know what, you know, we agreed to it, this guy, but it's going to be too much and I don't know if we can do it. And he went, just relax. He said, honestly, I'm sure he'll be cool. He said, come over to ours. We're having pizza. We're watching my episode of Fringe. We've got a few people over. Just come and relax, come and chill, be fine. I promise you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So go over to his house and we eat, we have a laugh, watch his episode. It was really great. Go back, call up Mark the next day, and he's like, "Oh, that works better for me, actually." He said, "Because then I don't have to move out of a room. You just rent my room, the spare room. It works really well." He said, "I've got a car, actually. You can, we can share my car if you like."
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, yeah." I was like, and I don't think he charged me much, or I paid the petrol, or I paid for some new tires. I can't remember. It definitely didn't, it didn't take the piss. It was really, really, really sweet. And so I ended up staying there. And when he's away, I've got the car. He's a great guy, Mark Humphrey. He was an actor. He was in, what was he in? Iron Eagle 3, I think he was in.
Well, it's a classic.
And he was in this Canadian series, which was very big, I think. And he'd done really well. And then he'd kind of, things had happened and he was married and he got divorced. But he was a grafter, and he would always do handyman work as well to earn money. And he was brilliant at all that. And one day he asked me, I was like, "Yeah, I'll come and do some work." And with him, I got to meet, again, endeavor, try things. Don't say no. You never know. There's lots of things that can happen in life, opportunities. And he knew this girl who was a private chef, and she would do all these private chefing events. And so he got the odd waiting gig at these private chefing events. So she asked me to, I said, "Yeah, I'll come and do that as well. That sounds like a laugh." And we ended up doing some party in the Hollywood Hills, and the guy's party was the producer of the Oscars that year, and he produced American Beauty. The mayor of LA was there, and I was going around serving canopies and schmoozing. And I remember someone said, "You've just been flirting with the mayor of LA." I was like, "Was I? I was just having a chat." And she used to make us try all the food, so we knew if the food was good. So I'd be like, "These shrimp puffs are amazing. You need to have one." So, that was fun. And then he would do all this like maintenance work and building decking and stuff. And one day I was like, "I'm going to do that. I'll come and do that." And then I remember calling my mum and I was like, "I've said I was going to help him do this building work. I really don't want to do it." She's like, "Well, you're not there to do building work. You don't have to do it." And I was like, "Yeah." And I called him up that morning and went, "You don't mind if I don't come to you?" And he's like, "No, it's fine." Now, through him, and you'll see all these little connections in this, you'll see all this kind of, it all seems like a disparate thing, but, we talked about the podcast. Craig's in the podcast. The guy from the Brits in LA. All those years down the line. And many things happened because I knew him and met him. And they used to do a breakfast at Cicconi's every Tuesday morning.
Right.
So it's a Brits breakfast. You could go, it was like $20 all in, tip included. And it was great. And you'd meet the regulars, but you'd meet all people who came into town, and some were fun, some weren't, but you meet all these different people. And you kind of get that British community. And then you go to, and so Mark, his ex-wife, the guy I was living with there, he was still friendly with. They had a son, and he's an actor, Luke Humphrey, and you can check him out. He's done quite a few things. He's in Canada. Nice, really, really lovely people, all cool people. Love them to bits. And Mark's ex-wife was a woman called Wendell, and she was an actress, and she married an old friend of Mark's called Patrick Caird, who's the first episode of my podcast.
It's all interconnected, isn't it?
It's all interconnected. And so he used to go up there on the weekend, and they loved the UFC MMA fighting. That was their thing. But they'd always do an amazing dinner. And they lived up on the hill in this really cool little house with amazing deck, with a barbecue. He would get the most amazing sausages. I remember these incredible sausages, and they would make chilies and just like incredible cheeses we'd have, and whiskeys, and everyone would bring wine, and it'd be incredible wines, and then, you know, there'd be cigars, and there'd be everything. It was amazing. And then we'd watch the MMA. I was not into it at all, but gradually, you know, their enthusiasm, and they explain it, and then I kind of got into that as well. And I used to get invited, and unfortunately, Wendell passed away, you know, not that long ago, just very sadly. Yeah. And lovely, lovely, lovely woman, and every time I went back, she was always a great support and a great champion. Always asked me, you know, how I was doing, or if I was flying back to LA, like, are you coming for dinner? You know, one of those people. So, you know, those people are really important to have and to find.
That support network around you. Yeah.
Real people.
Yeah.
Real people. And, you know, really, really sad, but also really amazing.
Yeah.
So I used to go there. So they became friends, and their little crowd of people became friends. And then I'm meeting some Americans and Canadians and international, and, you know, incredible. And then so the Magic Castle. I get invited to the Magic Castle, and there was a Brits in LA thing. I think we went, or a group of us went, and this guy said to me, one of the groups said, why are you not a member here? And I was like, I don't really care about joining clubs. I don't know. I can come here, whatever. He's like, go and talk. That guy's got a badge on. Go and talk to him. Find out. So I go to this guy, and I go, hi, I'm in the Magic Circle. I'm staying over here. How do you become a member? And he said, right, you're from the Magic Circle. Okay, show me a trick. I went, what, now? He went, yeah. All right. So I did it. I did my card under box routine. So I started doing my card under box. He's watching, and he's like, with this other guy, and he's like, okay. And he went, yeah, okay. Give me your details and we'll arrange it. And I went, okay. I called up a week later, and I was a member of the Magic Castle.
Wow.
I don't know what happened. I didn't do an audition. I didn't do it.
You know who the person was that you spoke to? No. Obviously somebody who gets listened to. Wow.
Maybe. It might have been Paul Green. It could have been anybody. I can't remember. I didn't know who it was. Maybe, yeah, I don't know if I've got any. Be interesting to see if I've got any correspondence from back then. I'm going to look at it after this and see who it was, but it was amazing. And I was then a member of the castle. And then I met Jack Goldfinger. Yeah. About doing, and Jack is the head of the events there. He's still the head of the events there, and he's a fab guy, quite crazy, and he comes out with amazing statements, and you're like, okay, okay. And he's really, really lovely fellow. And I went up to him and I said, how do I get to perform here? And he said, Paul, organize a 20-minute film of you performing, no cuts, and get it to me. And I was like, okay. No idea what I was going to do. Went to my friend Patrick and Wendell. He said, can I do a little show there? Mark, will you film me? And I did. And I gave him the 20 minutes. And I've still got that 20 minutes on Vimeo, actually, from back then. I don't know how good, I don't think it's that great. It's okay. But And I didn't end up getting the gig then.
Really?
So I saw him, Jack, and I went, "Did you see my tape?" And I saw him at the castle, and he came over to me and he gave me this big hug. And I said, "Oh, did you see my tape?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Was it okay?" He went, "Paul, I wouldn't have given you a big hug if I didn't like it." And I was like, "Oh, great." And he said, "But we're quite booked at the moment, but keep on with us," and blah blah blah. And so it never happened that I played then. But I'd made that inroad, and the connections were all connect. You can see all these little things connecting. So then there's the 6. Yeah. So I do the 6 months there.
So during that 6 months, so you became a member of the castle. Did you do gigs? I mean, you said that you didn't really do anything at the castle there, or was it all about networking and developing relationships?
Yeah, I think it was mainly about networking, developing relationships. I remember I did a stage bit at this opening of a Chinese restaurant. They had a stage. And I remember I did a thing there. So terrible. Random. I did a splash bottle production with a balloon, but they wanted all this. The girl had this idea of like confetti exploding out of the balloon. So we had those like little silver pieces, but they're quite hard, almost metallic little silver paper. And I remember putting them in the balloon, and I think it burst the balloon or something, and it was terrible. I think it was in my first show reel, boom. But I got some, actually, and Mark came to that show and he videoed me, and he videoed bits, and I used it in my first show reel. Some of them, I think some of the bits are still in the show reel there. And so I did all that, and I did lots of like acting. I went to Amy Linden's class every week, did a lot of that. She put me up, I think it was then, she put me up for a short film as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get it, but she put me up for it. And I said to her, "Shall I audition? Shall I be American?" It was an American part. And she said, "Be American." "Shall I be American?" She said, "Yeah, be American, but reveal it at the end that you're not." So
wow.
Yeah, so I went and I did the whole audition, and they went, "Oh, okay, can we have your resume?" And I said, "Oh, yeah. Do you want my British resume or my US resume?" And what? I went, "Well, I have a US resume and I have an English resume." But what? I went, I'm English. Oh, wow, okay, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't get it, so obviously wasn't that good. But it's not about that anyway. It's always about just doing it. You don't know why someone doesn't choose you.
You know what? That's the thing I'm getting from everything that you've said to me up until this point. And hopefully everybody that's watching this gets this take home, which is just do it. Don't be the sort of person that sits back and thinks, what would have happened if? Don't have regret in life.
Yeah, it's not those. There was a show called Northern Exposure back in the day. Loved that show.
Love that show. Yeah.
Brilliant show. Magical reality and lots of philosophy and lots of ideas. And I remember one of the characters said, life's like the hurdles you're running. It's much more interesting with the hurdles. And it's not about the finishing line. It's about the race. Because there is no finishing line. There's only the race.
Yeah.
There's only those moments.
Yeah.
They're just made up of moments, Sometimes the best moment is that coffee in the morning. Sometimes that best moment is looking at the sun.
Yeah.
It's not the big moment of adulation, or it's not. There's so many other things. Hanging out with friends, having met these people and been to these places. So yeah, so I'm in I do all that. It's hard to remember it all, because there's so much that's happened. And then I came back. And
that must have been a very awkward time.
Yeah.
You would be at a crossroads. I mean, you've just spent 6 months developing relationships in America. Now you've been forced to come back because of the working visa situation. Do you pick up the magic again and go back to that, knowing it works and you can make money doing that?
Yeah.
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 You're now at
because
again.
Yeah, because the acting game, very much the weird thing about the acting game in for me anyway, in the UK and versus the US is it was very close shop in the UK. Even though I went to drama school, and I had a multitude of agents, nothing really happened with them here, and I wasn't going up. I wasn't being put up for good stuff, and I wasn't, or anything of value. I wasn't getting the auditions, and and you have to make your own luck for sure. But if you have a good agent who's got their nose to the grindstone, they find out about stuff and they put you up for stuff. And I also think that there was a certain type of actor in the UK, and in America you can be many different things.
Yeah,
and you can kind of reinvent yourself, and I think there's that opportunity there. So I came back and I cracked on with the acting. Not the acting. I cracked on with the magic. And and then along the journey, I mean, I did Sorcerer's Apprentice with Max. I was one of the teachers in the show doing.
I remember that was amazing. Yeah, I remember.
That was right at the beginning. I mean, I somehow got that gig. I remember getting the. You remember when Darren did the lottery prediction?
Yes, I remember it well. Yes, very well.
So all the newspapers were calling up all the magicians to say, how did he do that?
I remember that. Yes.
So I got, I remember, I think it was Daily Mirror called me up, and they were asking me how he did it. And can you tell us the secret? And I was like, oh yeah, absolutely, I'll tell you. And they went, really? I went, oh yeah, no problem. I said, he's basically the devil, and he's got like a devil's tail. It's got like a little fork on the end of it, and he uses the powers of Satan. It's amazing. It's really good.
Please tell me they didn't believe that.
God knows. They might have hung up at that point.
That's funny.
And then the BBC called me and said, will you come in and talk? And I was like, yeah, but I won't tell you how it's done. I won't reveal anything. And I did the bit on the BBC, and I did I did this UFO thing, and it went wrong live on the BBC, but I kind of covered it and I did it again. And it's fine. And I left it up as is because it goes wrong once and then I get it right. And I thought, I don't care. And it's mind reading and it's kind of good. I quite like that. And most people were like, oh, it went wrong. That's kind of good. No, they went, did you mean to do that? And, but then I can swear on this, can't I?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. So I get a message from, so, it's like, is it a circle? Is it a square? Is it wavy lines? And I go, I think I'm getting the wavy lines. And then she goes, oh, no. And then I go, oh, no, I think it's, yeah, sorry, I missed it. The line was down and it's a square. And, yeah, yes. Oh, we should have you on again, blah, blah, blah. And of course, I didn't reveal anything. And they asked me, how did you do it? And I said, well, he's obviously just can predict the lottery, which is why he owns many houses in the south of France. And he buys all these boats because that's what he does. And okay. And I said, it's like a car crash magic. It's like a pile up on the A4. You're driving past it, and there are all these burning bodies, and you go past it, and you look out the window, and you look at the crash, and you see all the horror, and you wish you'd never looked. So that's magic. That's the secrets of magic. And
yeah.
And then I get a message from Etienne Pradier, which just said, "It's a square, you cunt."
Yep, that sounds just like Etienne.
And then I get a call from Andy Nyman.
Wow.
He calls me up and he goes, I heard that you were on, and I was upstairs, and I come down, I'm like, oh no, he's going to talk about all the stuff. And you didn't. And he said, I just wanted to phone you to say thanks so much for, just being cool. I was like, oh wow, no, thanks. And that was that. And that was that. That was that. But then again, another connection, another piece of the puzzle that all interconnects. And then I've got that bit of showreel.
Yeah.
Then I got that thing. So yeah. So then I'm cracking away as a magician, and I'm doing all the stuff. And I'm friends with Paul Martin. I'm friends with Darryl Rose, Somerset, all these people we're hanging out with, and it's great. And Dan Alexander, and there's so many. I mean, there's so many people. It's amazing. And we go, Blackpool Magic Convention, of course, the experience of that, and that's incredible. And that became a thing. Actually, that became an interesting thing. The Blackpool Magic Convention, the biggest magic convention in the world. And when I first went to that, it was after I met Max, and I think it was through Noel Coulter again, because I was a member of the LSM, the London Society of Magicians, which was at Davenport's, and it was Mike Phillips and Sergio Barros, and he said you should go to Blackpool. Noel, I think Noel said, and I didn't know anyone going to Blackpool. I only knew Noel, and I asked Max, and he was like, I don't know. And so he wasn't going. And then I thought, actually, it's probably good. Another, like going to LA and not knowing anybody, or just like go to Blackpool and not know anybody. And then the only person I knew was Noel. And I remember running around trying to find Noel, and I couldn't find them. And then I ended up meeting a few people, and I made some new friends there. And then I remember sitting down in the main entrance bit where you used to come in the front way, and you had the coffee in the middle, didn't you? Kind of the cafeteria in the middle. They would have little chairs and tables, and I remember sitting down. Okay, coffee, and someone came and sat with me. It was Chris Capehart,
an amazing guy,
and I think I met him. Maybe I hadn't met him yet at the castle. Anyway. Great American magician.
Yeah.
Great kids magician. There's a guy that if you're an adult magician, go and watch Chris Capehart's kids stuff.
Yeah.
Because you will get amazing stuff. It's brilliant. He's brilliant.
It really is.
So we start.
Dream is the best in the.
Exactly that. That one where he puts it in the pocket and then he keeps.
Yeah.
Putting it in the pocket. I mean, it's brilliant. And he's funny, and he's like a proper grafter as well. And he's done it. He, busking in Central Park, and he's the man. So he sits down with me, and he's sitting opposite me, and we're talking about like 3 card tricks. And he goes, oh, I know that one, and let me show you one. And I went, oh, I know this one. And we're really engrossed in it, and we're really kind of going for it. And suddenly I look up, and there's like 20 people standing around us. And I don't know, I'm nobody. I'm just a guy at Black Magic Convention. Like, how amazing is that?
That's incredible.
Amazing. I mean, and that's the amazing thing about magic is you get to meet your heroes, or you get to meet the top people, and you get to interact with them, and it's no big deal. You get to learn from everybody. And if you don't forget the old people in magic, because there's some guys there who, I was lucky when I joined the circle. It was like Bobby Bernard, who was a cantankerous old git.
To say the least. But he had some stories, and he shared some stuff with me, and he showed me some ideas, and, and he fell asleep in the lectures and farted and whatever else. But
he was around.
During my first lecture, I remember that within 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't even know who he is, and I was close to calling him out. I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, he was, but he had stuff. And then Ali Bongo. I mean, it was mad. Ali Bongo had my number. He called me one time, and I'm like, why is Ali Bongo calling me? I don't know anything. And he starts asking me about something, and I'm like, I don't know anything. And he was asking me about magic and something that I'd said or thought of, or wow. Paul Daniels. I met Paul Daniels at the Magic Circle, and wow, what an amazing guy to sit and talk with. If you want to listen to what he says,
yeah.
If you want him to ask you about you, forget about it. But as long as it's Paul Daniels, amazing. So, yeah. So yeah. So then there was a moment. I'm doing all the magic, and somebody said to me, an actor friend of mine said, "Oh, there's a thing called casting workshops, where they send you like the script the day before, and you kind of do like a fake audition in front of a casting director. So they'll give you like a couple of sides from a TV piece or a movie, and then you go in the next day or a few days, like 2 or 3 days later, and there's a group of you, and you're sitting around. And they'll either do it face to face or with a camera, and you do as if you're auditioning for the part." So, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I really need to do that, because I feel like I'm not getting anything. And I had the odd commercial in that time, and a few little rubbishy things. And so I remember getting the script. I'm thinking, I just can't learn this. It's not going in my brain. That's terrible. And I went and did it, and I thought, this is great, actually. This is great. Again, kind of that, you said it, like, you don't know what's, you're not given a answer book to life. So you better jump off the diving board.
Yeah.
Keep jumping off that diving board. I mean, come on. So it was like, okay, this is tough. This is frightening. I need to do it. I better do it again.
Yeah.
So I go to that, and I do it a few times, and like my brain starts working again. The muscle memory, the muscle starts engaging with scripts. And then they go, oh, we've got this, we're going to do this thing. This woman's coming over. She's from the Groundlings. We're thinking about doing a week of kind of comedy improv. Who would be interested in that? The Groundlings are this group who have a school in LA, and they do sketch writing and improv and characters. And their alumni are people like Will Ferrell, Melissa McCarthy, just like who's who of.
Just there, you've got the who's who of the comedy world. And
yeah, all the Saturday Night Live. They're like a funnel to Saturday Night Live. And I thought, well, that sounds fun.
And it's crazy that these opportunities just occur. Yeah, it's just amazing.
But they don't just occur. They're all connected.
Mm-hmm.
They're all connected. It's all about taking that choice at that moment where you did that one thing.
Yeah. Because there are going to be people that, and I don't believe this at all for 1 second, I never have, but there's going to be people listening to this interview that go, oh, Paul's just lucky. You make your own luck.
I'm not 20.
No.
I've been around.
Yeah, you create your own luck.
You create your own luck, and you walk through life, and you can go around envious of people and moaning about what you don't have.
Yeah.
But we can all do that.
Mm-hmm.
We can all do that at any stage. And my mum was a divorced mother who worked 3 jobs to support a little baby. Don't get me wrong, I was very lucky. I'm very lucky. But I don't mind people who get helped as long as they do something with it. You know?
Yeah.
Support. We need support. And it's very hard in life. You go and get support and help. And what I mean support is a cheerleader and someone's got your back and someone you can talk to. That's really important.
Yeah.
And you know, inspiration, and someone supports the ideas that and the things that you want to try in life. But believe me, you know, the amount of knockbacks I have to take along the way, the amounts of smacks in the face, the insecurity, the imposter syndrome, the you're not good enough, you're not this enough, you're not tall enough, short enough, fat enough, thin enough, good looking enough, ugly enough, whatever enough. There's never enough. Enough what? Compared to what? Mm. And so, yeah, none of this is luck. None of this is luck.
It's hard work. I'm getting that. I can tell how hard you've worked at this.
Hard, you know, and struggled to do it against all odds, because nobody's going, do this and this is going to happen. It's like jump into the unknown. People say to me now, I'm going back to LA, like, what have you got set up? Well, I don't know. I don't know. But I know a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, I know I'll go and just do some things, see what happens. You know, I know how to hustle. You know, I used to survive doing market researches. Years ago, I used to do millions of market research. You know, when you called in and they talk about, you know, this bottle, and then you like, what do you think about this bottle? Do you like a black bottle? Do you like it short? Oh, I love a black bottle. You get 50 quid and you do those, and that used to keep me alive back in the day.
But you've got to do. Yeah, here's the thing: you've got to do what you've got to do. And I think a lot of the time, people coming into this industry these days, they're looking for the shortcut.
Yeah.
They're looking for the way that you skip the steps, and you can't skip the steps. You know, you just can't, because even if you find a shortcut, at some point you'll just end up going backwards and you won't know how to carry on going forwards because you weren't there in the first place. Yeah, there's no such thing as a shortcut. It's hard work.
It's hard work, and it doesn't get easier. It just does, you know. You think it's going to get, it does get easier in the sense that if you've done these things, you've got more to call on, and and if you appreciate those things, you can build on those things and enjoy. And if you know how to enjoy them and appreciate them, that's part of it as well. But it doesn't get easier, because you're only as good as your next show.
Yeah.
You know, don't get fooled. Just because you were great last night doesn't mean you're going to be great tonight. Yeah. Forget about it. You know, I mentioned this, you know, this idea of nostalgia and just getting immersed in nostalgia, remembering the time when, and that was so much better, and this was so good. It's a hiding to nothing. Like, by all means, you know, look back and remember good things and enjoy them, but don't get this, like, wallow in nostalgia, because you're now is the only thing that exists.
Yeah. Live for today.
Yeah.
100%.
So yeah.
Sorry, I pulled you off topic. You were telling us about the groundlings. Sorry.
Tell me if I'm going on for too long.
No, Paul, you're really not. I'm loving this. I really am. I really am. You've lived an incredibly fascinating life, like, and it's inspirational hearing everything that you've gone through and the journey that you've taken and the choices that you've made. And I know that there's going to be people that are listening to this that need to hear this. And I know this because of the amount of comments I see on this channel. This is exactly what people need to hear.
Cool. You know, and also we're talking about and we talk, I'm coming at a relatively positive vibe, and there's sadness along the way, and there's traumas, and there's all these other things that happen all along the way, and there's our lives and deaths, and all these things that we have to deal with, and we're all touched by them, and they all slow us down, and they all knock us sideways, and we're all part of that club, that tragic club. And that's the essence of being human. And unfortunately, it's not all sunshine and roses, but there's a lot of good stuff there. There's plenty of good stuff to be had. And fuck, I'm 49. I know, that's the point you say, really?
You look good.
But, I've got away with it right up to now. I get to play with cards and Eugene Berger books and plastic things that go flip, and I get paid to show them to people.
It's so true.
I can walk into a billionaire's house with a deck of cards, and they'll invite me in with open arms and ask me to be their best friend and take me out drinking and want to just, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how crazy is that?
Very crazy.
Yeah.
Very mad.
But brilliant. And then really, really fucking hard. Really hard to get to that position. And don't, like anyone, go for it. Like, work hard and don't take it for granted, but don't pretend that, it ain't going to happen overnight. And even the rubbish, the shit that I hate on YouTube, and the crappy pranks and all of those guys work bloody hard at it.
Yeah, they
don't. Just because you don't like something, I don't like something, so what? They still work really hard at it. These people who go, these influencers or these people who got all these followers, they didn't just get all these followers. It didn't just happen.
No.
Didn't fall out of the sky. They worked their butts off.
Yeah.
So, you have to remember that. It's really important.
Groundlings.
So, yeah. So I go and do this week at Groundlings because I think this would be cool. And I think I'm good at improv. I do shows. I interact with audiences. I know how to be in the moment. I know how to be on it. And wow, this is fucking next level. This is like character, emotion, point of view, short form improv. The idea, the basic idea behind improvisation is yes and. So I say something, I say, it's lovely to see you, Jim. We haven't seen each other since that fateful day last June when your van went off that mountain. And your response is yes. And the funny thing was, I lost my luggage and I was living in the same pair of pants for 3 weeks because we were lost in the jungle. Yes. And we were lost in the jungle. And that was when the cannibals chased us around the trees. And that was when we were captured. Yes. And I can't believe that you would stayed in that hot pot for so long, being cooked gently, etc., etc. So we're building on an idea. Or I go, hey, Jim, I haven't seen you since that time when your truck went off the mountain. No, it didn't go off a mountain. It wasn't a truck. It was a bicycle. Oh. Gone.
Yeah.
I've taken a big canvas, I put all this paint on, and you went rubbish.
Yeah.
So the idea is you embrace, and you have to listen. Oh, there's the thing for magicians. Listen.
Yeah. So not very
good. You don't know what listening is. Listen to the audience. Listen to the person who shouts some bullshit at you.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to what's happening. Listen to how someone responds. Build on it. Take it and run with it, or put them down, or stop it, or take control. You know, listen. So anyway, and their whole ethos is character, emotion, point of view. So I come on, hey Jim, it's great to see you, or I'm going to come on with a character. Maybe I'm, hey Jim, so great to see you. So I come on with emotion and character and a point of view. I'm afraid. Oh, it's great to see you, but you know, we've got to be careful. I'm giving you so much stuff there.
Yeah.
You have no idea. We've literally walked on stage. You don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm walking up to you, saying some shit at you. But if I here, you take the gun, keep your eyes peeled, and they could come from any tree anywhere. You go, okay, he's giving me a gun. There's people coming to attack us. You've got all this information to build on, and you can build more and more information. That's wow. And then, so anyway, we did this for a week. And then she liked our group so much, she came back and she said, hey, do you want to do like a next level of that, what we did? And we were all, most of us like, fuck yeah. So we came back and did another group. And then when we did that, she said, they basically passed us to do the basic level in LA. So normally you go to LA and you do like a pre-course, and then as long as you pass that, you get to do the basic. But we got that kind of shortcut because we've done that. So if we went to LA, we could do the basic. So the school is set up as follows. They have a core track, basic, intermediate, and advanced. That's all comedy improv. And I think the superseding rule is that if it's funny, it breaks, like, doesn't matter. Like the funny is funny, but you learn rules in order to break them, and in each level. And so at the end of basic, the teacher decides whether it's 6 weeks, I think it was 6 weeks, 2 or 3 classes a week, something like that. And then you get passed into intermediate, same 6 weeks. In intermediate, you do a show to the class. They did this thing called, what was it called? 1 in the room, 6 in the room. You had to have like 4 different characters or 5 different characters. And somebody plays the part of a shopkeeper. You come in the room and you're one of your characters. And you have to buy something and leave. And you've got like a minute or 2 minutes. So, you know, I had this like, very nervous guy. Oh, hello. I'm looking for a bauble for my mother. Okay. Yeah, that'll be tender. Okay. I'm just very shy. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, please don't look at me. No, please stop looking. No, please, I'm going now. And then you go out and then you come in again and like, hey, Abad, it's lovely to be here, whatever it was. And you had all these different characters. And so you got voted on that. And then you, in advanced level, you did a show for the public. And then you got passed on that. And so in the actual show, you have like a director, and it's all short form. So they'd be like, okay, it's Craig and Paul. Where are they? And they say, okay, they're in the Savoy Hotel having dinner. Okay, and that's all they get. Boom. And so we're like, all we know is we're in the Savoy Hotel, and we got 2 minutes, and we do a scene.
It must be scary as hell.
Yeah.
I mean, for just speaking to somebody who's done magic my whole life, I mean, I don't really follow a script, but I have a very good idea of what I'm going to say. And I can't imagine being put into a situation where I've got to just completely make this stuff up on the spot, like within seconds of being told the scenario. That just baffles the mind.
But it's listen. Like, and then, so you do eye contact. We're looking at each other. And we're looking for that moment where it's the right time to say something. But just in that looking at each other, we're kind of like feeling each other out. And then maybe someone starts laughing and then the other person starts laughing, and then you can build on that. Or maybe it's intense and it gives you an idea, or someone says, you know, oh my God, I missed you. I love you. I love you too. You know, you know, and it becomes hilarious. Or they would do things like, okay, we've got Craig and Paul. What are they doing? And it's like, they're building a bird cage. Or, you know, a bird box. It's like, okay, you're building a bird box. So we start building a bird box. Imagine that we're building a bird box. And we look at each other and we're building, and we don't say anything until the time's right to say something. And it will make sense. But the scene is not about us building a bird box. The scene is about our relationship.
Yeah.
So maybe you're my brother. Maybe I think, oh, you know, and then they do things like, you know, there's a higher percentage chance with a positive frame of mind. So if I say something positive, there's a higher percentage chance of that working and being funny, rather than it being negative or getting into an argument. Getting into an argument is always very difficult because you've got to get like out of an argument.
Yeah.
And then fueling the fire, you know. Someone's going, I'm really afraid, and you go, there, it's okay. You stop it. If you go, I'm really afraid, you're like, you really should be afraid. You should be very afraid. Yeah, I'm really, really afraid. My God, you should really be afraid. It's really gone wrong, you know. Yes, yeah, you've embezzled so much money. I know I've embezzled so much money. Yes, the police, they called me today. Oh my God, they called, you know. Then it's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Now, okay, let's go back to Endeavour. I did every level twice.
Why?
They didn't pass me.
Why?
So the first time I did basic, I thought I was going to pass. And he went, you go and have like a one-on-one conversation. And he was like, I'm on the fence about putting you forward. I was like, why? He's like, I'm on the fence. I'm like, well, I'm not going to pass you. I think you should do it again. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. And I think it wasn't until the next year I came back. I wasn't living there then. You know, I'd go there for 2 or 3 months, and then I'd come back the next year and do it again. And actually, it was really good. It was really good to do it again.
Really?
Because you've done some of it, and then you get to build on it and like improve. So then I passed basics, and then I do intermediate. What happened with intermediate? I can't. Oh God, we had a really tough teacher. She was a real bitch. I kind of liked her, but I also hated her. And she basically decided we weren't going to pass. I pretty much think that. Anyway, I didn't pass. Probably not good enough. And I did it again. And then the intermediate, what happened? Yeah, I think he was on the fence the second time, and then he passed me. And then I did advanced. And then we had this really, God, this guy was blue, hot and cold, the teacher. Sometimes I think it's a bit ego as well with some of these teachers as well. And they say it's a bit like a Scientology, you know, in that it's such a, you know, you buy into the groundlings ethos and their way of being, and, you know, it becomes very, very immersive. But I did it again. I was like, so what? Fuck it. You're only going to get better, aren't you? You're only going to learn more. And then I did advanced, and then he didn't pass me. And then I had this teacher I'd worked with before, and he passed me, no problem. But advanced was great because you ended up with the show, and that was great. And then alongside that, I did loads of extra classes and extra shows. And there were things called powwows where you could do like a week of classes, which ended in a show. So I was doing that a lot. So that was over a period of about 5 years. And then, so basic, intermediate, advanced, that's the core track. if you get past that and you want to carry on, they have 2 more levels. One is called Writer's Lab, and the second one's called Advanced Writer's Lab.
Okay.
Writer's Lab is sketch writing and character monologues. And that's 6 weeks. That ends in a show. There's a couple of videos of me doing the sketches that we did on our show. I think they're on YouTube. There's a monologue I do as this English physics teacher, which was based on my old physics teacher at school. My actual physics teacher was called Mr. Hepburn Scott, and he was old school. He used to wear these braces, and he used to have the little like elastic expanders on his wrist, on his shirts to hold his sleeves, and he'd wear a waistcoat and a tweed jacket. And I hated physics, but he was so eccentric. He made it amazing. He should jump on the table. He taught us how to fold our jackets. You know, it was like, he took us out to cars in the street and laid on the road and peered underneath the cars and like, those are springs. And, you know, so he was a character that I drew on. And so that was Writer's Lab. And then if you got past Writer's Lab, you go into Advanced Writer's Lab, which is 2 sets of 6 weeks with the show in the middle. So you end up doing 2 shows. My journey ended at Writer's Lab. So I did Writer's Lab. This was just before the pandemic hit. Would have been February 2020.
Yeah.
And then they didn't pass me, which I was a bit gutted. And I thought I would pass. And I really wanted to do Advanced Writer's Lab, but if I had been passed, I still wouldn't have had the chance to do it right up to now. And if you get past all that, you go into the Sunday Company. And the Sunday Company is this kind of mid-range thing. There's the Sunday Company and there's the main company. If you get into the main company, you're groundlings. You do shows every week. You do improv. You do sketch shows. People pay. They come and see you. It's not, they don't make shitloads of money, but incredible exposure. The theatre on Melrose Avenue, all the great, like, tons of famous people come and watch them. Everybody sees you. It's amazing. When you get to the Sunday Company, you're still basically a student there, but they do a Sunday show every Sunday.
Right.
And you write sketches every Sunday as a group. You have to pitch. So all the stuff you do in a writer's lab, you're doing basically for real. And you have to pitch your sketches to the director, and they'll either go with them or not go with them, or you develop them. And then you perform those sketches, and they do like a set of Sundays where they do that, and then they write new ones. This goes on for 6 months. Then at the end of 6 months, you're either voted into the main company, can do another 6 months, or kicked out. That can happen 3 times. You can do 3 6 months to get into the main company. No one gets into the main company of the first 6 months. And so all along, with the core track, with the basic, intermediate, advanced, you can redo it. Once you get into Writer's Lab, it's like pass, fail, goodbye. And that's grounding. And then because I saw that, I saw them do a musical improv. And they did one where she came on the stage and she's like, okay, she's going to do a musical in the style of Sondheim. Where is she? She's in a park picking up daisies. Okay. She's in a park picking up daisies, and the pianist starts playing something and she's singing in the style of Sondheim. And I thought, that's fucking crazy. I want to do that. And then I came to London and I did Showstoppers here, which they put on a show. I think it's on the Wyndhams it's on twice a month. Go and see Showstoppers, amazing improv musical. And I did some courses with them as well. And we did a couple of shows. And Lee Hathaway saw me in that, and Lee Warren and Paul Martin. And they Paul went, I don't know why I do this fucking magic. You should do that. You should be acting. I was like, oh, great, thanks. So yeah, I mean, again, it was like, well, that looks scary. I think I'll do that.
So while you're doing all of this and you're taking all of these courses and you're going to America and coming back from America and then staying over in America, are you still doing gigs as a magician as well?
Yeah.
Man, you make me tired just thinking about all this.
Yeah, unfortunately I had to be here through personal situations this time, but I'm not really here. And then, yeah, I've been here like a big stint of 7 months and another big stint of 7 months. I have a flat that I rent in LA. Luckily, someone's renting it off me while I've been here. And but I've got a corporate gig tomorrow actually, and then I'm doing a couple of gigs 1st and 2nd of April. But and it's amazing. I don't know, it's like cool that they've come in. But yeah, so I am, but you've got to keep stretching yourself. You've got to keep learning. You've got to keep pushing, or you can end up that guy who does 5 tricks, and he did those 5 tricks when he was 20, and he does them when he's 30 with the same jokes, and he does them when he's 50, and then he does them when he's 70, and it's all gone a bit, ugh.
I wouldn't want,
It's gone a stale, and those innuendo jokes you could get away with when you're 20 and you're 50, and it's like, ugh,
Well, I did a video on this channel a while ago about the 5 mistakes that professional magicians make, and the 5th point was the one that I felt strongest about, which is always have an exit strategy. Because I see so many magicians that have, kind of that without being funny, they're kind of a bit past it now. They're like, not where they were, and they didn't save their money. They didn't do anything. They didn't like put another string to their bow. And now they're in a situation where, they're carrying on doing stuff that maybe doesn't suit them or doesn't suit their act anymore, and they haven't evolved. And, I really do think that magicians need to look to the future more. And I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, yes. It's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I mean, the good thing as an actor is you're always an actor. Like you're 50, you're 60, you're 70, you're 80, you're 100. And
in many ways, you having that string to your bow as comedy, improv, actor, musical theatre, all of that, that is something that you can continue to do, for a very long time.
I hope so. And, I hope to make some money, but, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And I could have done something else, I guess. I couldn't really, because, I have the ability to have done something else, but I've never had the head to do it or want to do it. I never like working in an office. Don't want to do that. I don't like, I do find it hard even acting where I'm told what to do. Where I'm told what to do. I'd rather, so I did these short films. I'm going to go on again here.
That's okay.
Groundlings. I did the Groundlings, and then a couple of guys I became good pals with, and one of the guys, my friend Sky, he worked at this kids' film school in LA, and he worked there when he was a kid actor at the school, and then he became like a teacher as well. He's like, I spoke to him last night, actually. He's 27 now. So I've known him for about, 3 or 4 years now. I don't know. It's gone really quick. 5 years, maybe. And I did an improv in class where I was the magician coming on to the mothers at a kids' party. And he was pissing himself.
I've seen that magician.
So he goes away and talks to his friend Ryan, who's the director at the film school, and they're going to do their graduation films. And Ryan's a bit of a maverick in that he quite likes to do it his way. And he writes all the stuff. And then he thought, you know what, I'm going to write this film. The kids have to be in it, but I'm going to write it about Paul's character because that's hysterical. And so he ends up writing this thing. And I remember I'd come back to London, it was like my 3-month stints, because from 2010 I didn't go back to LA to 2016.
Okay.
So I kind of got on with it here.
Yeah.
And I was then thinking, oh, I'm going to go for an O1 visa again, maybe, but I need to earn enough money and I need to get my ducks in a row. And then my lawyer, this was a new lawyer, which was really good, actually. I said, oh, I'm trying to get an O1 visa. And she goes, why don't you do a green card? And I was like, because how am I going to get a green card? She's like, you're definitely going to get a green card easier than you get an O1. And I'm like, how's that possible? Because with an O1, when I first did an O1, you could be like entertainment. Now it's really specific. So it's more like magician or actor and with the O1, you kind of have to show that you're give them a diary of events you're doing. You have to be sponsored by a company or somebody to say that they're paying you and a whole bunch of things. The green card, you self-sponsor and you have a whole bunch of boxes you need to tick to be accessible. She said, be the magician. Do not be the actor for the green card, because once you get your green card, you can do anything. But you're not a well-known actor, but as a magician, you're well-known, and I can see you online, and I can see videos and pictures, and and you can get this, you're a member of this. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting.
I didn't even know that.
And like, those of you now who are thinking, oh, well, I'm going to get a green card, that sounds amazing. No, it doesn't quite work like that. I mean, you have to have done stuff. You have to be able to show it. And you also have to know that you want to do that, because, you know, you file taxes in America. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah,
you have to be a resident there as well. I mean, it's not easy. So anyway, I go for the green card. I literally get approved for the green card in about 6 months.
Wow, that's unheard of.
I know. So kind of what you said, yeah, like some people might say you're really lucky, and yes, I am. Like my ex-girlfriend used to say, you know, could chuck you out a window and you'd land on your feet 9 times. So, you know, amazing things do happen and do happen to me, and it is amazing. But I've kind of built them, and it's all interconnected. But that was amazing. And I got this green card, and that was 2018. So anyway, Sky sees the thing. He goes to Ryan. They write this film. I've come back to London. I remember getting a call. I'm in bed. He goes, hey, I got this script. Start reading it to me. I can't remember. And then I sent the script, and they acted it out as me. And then I made some tweaks. I said, can I change this? I don't think you'd say this. I think you'd say this. And they asked me about the magic and blah, 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 blah. And then we do this film. And then we filmed it over a few weekends, and it was a 15-minute short. And it was the first short film that I've done that I was really proud of. That I think is, you know, it's quite good. It's got some funny bits, and it works, and it shows me off in the right way.
Is there a way that people can watch this online that are listening to this that want to see it?
Yeah, it's called The Magic Show. It's on Vimeo. It's on my. I'll give you the links. I'll give you links of everything if you want. It's on vimeo.com/Paul Roffman, The Magic Show, I think.
Okay.
And there's another film called Charlie's Toys, which we did later. But so we did that. It was good. We then had a premiere at a big cinema there, which was cool. Saw it on the big screen. Got a lot of really nice feedback. And it's only a short film. But again, groundlings, mate, goes off, writes something. Director, mate, hang out, experiences, like me, like my acting, help me with self-tapes. Ryan then does like self-tapes for other people's promo reels, calls me up, can you come and do this with this girl? I'll send you the script. So I do this thing, there's like a video of me doing like this American cop in the scene, because I did that, another thing. So suddenly I'm building up my show reel.
Yeah.
And my show reel here was shit, my acting show reel. And then suddenly that's happening. And then, so we do that. We enter in a bunch of competitions, like, you know, film competitions. I think it gets some honorable mentions in some, and it was in the Hollywood Film Festival or whatever. He gets very upset when they don't give us like the main award. He's like, why didn't we win it? I'm like, don't worry about it, it's fine. And then I see, during pandemic, I see this road mic competition. And there's a competition for a 3-minute short film. So I said to the guys, hey, should we do a 3-minute short film? They're like, yeah. Within 2 weeks, they've written a script, send it to me. I'm like, that's cool. Go over to their place. We film it on one heavy, heavy night, hours and hours and hours. We make this short film. Ryan does everything, camera, editing, lighting, him, Sky's in this one with me. There's the two of us acting. It's a really dark little 3-minute. I really like it because we didn't have to compromise on that. With the magic show, we had to compromise because there were kids. We make the kids disappear in this film because I'm this benevolent magician who they force into going a bit mental, and then I make them disappear, but then I have to bring them back. And if I had my way, they would never have come back. And we have the same dark sense of humor. And the Charlie's Toys is a really dark little film. I really like that. And we got to do that on our own back. No money. It looks $1 million. He did all the effects himself. There's a making of, so we had to do a making of for the competition. We didn't get anywhere in it. There's 1 million films in it. I think it's really good. So there's a 3-minute the film. There's the making of behind the scenes, which is really interesting because you see how we did it, and it's really cool. And we did that, and then so I put all that stuff together. Then we've cut it into my show reel, my acting show reel. So now I've got a good 3-minute acting show reel.
Yeah.
That shows me as the magician, as an American, as a cop, as this, and the bits from some old stuff.
Yeah.
Bang. When I go back last July, I go back to LA, and I remembered a guy I worked with at Groundlings who had recommended me to his agent a few years ago. And at the time, they said, oh, it was pilot season, we're busy, come back to us next summer. So I suddenly remembered that. I asked him, can you put me in with your agent? He's like, yeah. Send my stuff. They do you want commercial as well? I'm like, yeah, sure. So you have a commercial voiceover print agent, and then you have what they call theatrical, which is film and TV. And the theatrical agent messaged me, he's like, are you free for a chat? And I was like, yeah. So I talked to her, and she's like, oh my God, you're like amazing. You do all these things. You're a magician, you're an actor, you can do American, you can do British, you play, very funny, you're a comedian. So what kind of stuff do you want to do? And I said, well, I obviously do comedy. I want to do drama as well. She said, you're very funny. I'm like, yeah, no, I know. But, so it'd be good to do some serious stuff. She's like, yeah, but what about comedy? I'm like, yeah, no, I do comedy. And she's like, yeah, but I can do serious, but we need comedy. We need comedy now. I'm like, yeah, no, but I can do comedy as well. No, are you going to do comedy? Okay, I'm going to do comedy as well. I mean, yeah, obviously, you sound like my mom. Yes, I do comedy.
Man.
And she said, okay. And she said, what are you looking for? I said, look, I want an agent who I can talk to and I can call up. I'm not going to call you up, but I want to know that I can and that I have a relationship and we're building something together. Otherwise, I'm really not interested because I've been there before. And she's like, oh, no, that's perfect. There's no problem. And, what kind of comedy do you like? And I'm like, because everything's so PC and California's so fucking off the chart with its woke bullshit. And I thought I was a liberal. Apparently, I'm a right-wing fascist compared to most people in California these days. And so, anyway, I would have to explain that to some of the Americans again. I'm kidding. That's a joke. But sorry, done it again. And then yeah, and then she said, who do you like? And I said, well, basically Ricky Gervais's monologue at the Golden Globes, for me, that's the bullseye. So I said, if that offends you, then I'm not the right guy. She's like, oh my God, that's hilarious. Oh, it's so risque. I love it. Oh my God. Blah, blah. Boom, signs me up. Do you want to be the commercials? Yeah. Get signed up for the commercials agent. And I was only back in July, and I had 13 auditions in 3 weeks.
Holy crap.
And that was TV, film, voiceover, commercial, children's TV. And most of it was self-tape. And again, then the question is, well, did you get any of it? No, I didn't get any of it. But it's not about getting it. Yes, it's about getting it, but it's not about getting it, because you have to be up there doing it, getting your face out there. And again, I might be brilliant or I might be shit, but I don't know. Yeah. My ear might be wrong for this part, but they love me. And you're never auditioning for that part. You're just auditioning. Just do the best job you can do. You're not going for that part, because they, it's like the Friends thing. They remembered, I think it was Ross, I think it was him that they remembered from an audition for something else a couple of years before, and then they're like, that guy, let's get him in again. And that's how you do it. So anyway, I do 30. And unfortunately, my mum was really ill at the time and passed away. I got back in time, all that. But so I'm there in July, and I'm going up for things like, I'm going up for some crazy things. So my agent messages me. I get a text, and she's like, can you do an Irish accent? I can't do an Irish accent. It's not in my repertoire. So I'm like, it's not in my repertoire, but I can certainly work on it. I'll get a coach and I can get it up to standard. We don't have that luxury. We need it tomorrow. It's like, okay, well, I could give it a go. She's like, I could give a French accent a go. It'd be terrible. Can you do it? Does it help if I tell you It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with Danny DeVito? I was like, yes. Yes, I can do an Irish accent. Good, correct answer. So she sends me the script, and it's really funny. It's a really funny scene, and it's the latest series, which they just shot in Ireland. I didn't get it. But it's like 4 pages, and I'm playing an Irish director. And so I put on Facebook, who does Irish, who can do an Irish accent, who can help me, blah, 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 blah. A bunch of people come on, again, load of magicians. And I speak to some people, Quentin, what's his name?
Quentin Reynolds.
Is that right? That's him, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was him.
Yeah, Quentin Reynolds.
Yeah, I think it was him.
Maybe, no?
Yeah, I think it was him. We had a chat, and then Noel Coulter, because his family were Irish, and then he helped me. And so we went through a whole bunch of the script on Facebook Messenger, talking, blah, blah, blah. So now I have to be off book, which means not with the script in my hand. I got to film it myself. And I got to do an Irish accent that I can't do. And anyway, I go on a hike. I have my headphones on. I got the script. I'm so LA. I'm up the mountain, blah, 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 learn it. I eventually get it down. I slate, which is when you introduce yourself, when you say, hi, I'm Paul Roffman. I'm with the library agency. I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm in Los Angeles. But I do that in Irish. Hi, I'm Paul Roffman. Blah, 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 blah. So I do it as if I was Irish, and I do the whole thing. And I send her 3 or 4 takes. And then she comes back to me, is like, hilarious. I love scene 2 and 4. We're going to put those forward. I'm like, okay, great. Put this forward. Next day, I say to her, I'm going to have to go back to London. You know, shit's happened and unfortunately I'm going to have to go. She's like, oh, so sorry, blah, blah, blah. About an hour and a half later, it's like a Tuesday or Wednesday, and I booked to come back on the Saturday. She messaged me too. She's like, I know this is cheeky, but they just sent me another 2 parts for the same episode, the assistant Irish director and an Irish priest. Do you want to give them a go just for the hell of it? I mean, you know, you don't have to. And I was like, fuck it. Yeah, why not? So now, no, I've got this. I said, what, an Irish priest? I said, is it a Jewish Irish priest? She's like, oh my God, you're hilarious, Saba. And so I do the assistant director. I said, can I do it with the script in hand? No, you have to be off book. I'm like, I'm exhausted. I need to. She's like, have a relax, go on a hike, come back, do it later, blah, blah, blah. So again, off I go, film the scenes, come back, film them, send them to her. I love take 1, take 3. You kind of lost the accent in this one, but this is good. You're really funny, blah, 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 and put it forward. And I'm like, I'll do the priest tomorrow because that's not due. The next day she messaged me. She said, don't do the priest. It's fine. She said, in fact, I'm going to send them a message because I'm worried you're going to get the part and you're not going to be able to do it. So I'm going to tell them what happened. And, you know, I think it'll be a good thing. I'm like, cool. That's great. So she sends the casting people a message and they're like, oh, so sorry. Thanks so much. And said how much I enjoyed it. And boom, that was that. And but what did that do? Put me in front of that casting director. Also put me in front of them where hopefully they think I'm Irish, so maybe I'll get in front of them again and maybe I'll be English or maybe I'll be an American, and they're gonna go, hey, who's that guy, do you remember him? And that's going to be a thing. And I've broken in now. I've been seen by that casting director, and who knows if I see them again. And then I came back here and had to deal with all the shit that, everything entailed. But again, my agent carried on occasionally. I said, I'm going to be here. And she still sent me up for some bigger things and a few other bits that I recorded here. And the last thing she sent me was This Is Us. That show, This Is Us.
Yes.
So I was playing some like sarky English guy, and I did the takes, and I got them down, and I thought they were quite funny. And actually, I didn't really want to get it because it meant I'd have to go back in February, and it would have been a real problem. So anyway, so I did that as well. And then, as far as my plans, when I go back, I'll go back, Bosch, kind of, I suppose, open up into that again.
Are you going to hit the ground running when it comes to auditions?
Yeah.
Where's your focus going back? Is it now firmly in the the acting world and improv and making that side of things work? Is this the exact polar opposite of where you were many, many years ago, where you're like, I'm going to take a break from acting, I'm going to focus on the magic? Is this the other way around now? Because you seem so passionate about that side of things. And I know you love magic. But it seems that the passion from is flowing through.
Does it have a different energy?
Yeah, I mean, you just seem really excited about the future in terms of, and everything you're saying is that world. It's you're not talking about, hey, I'm going to be able to go to the Magic Castle again, or hey, I'm going to I'm going to get this close-up gig or whatever it may be. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just wondering if that's your focus.
Well, I spoke to the castle because I was meant to perform there in October, and obviously I couldn't do it. And I sent a message to Jack, and he called me. It was so funny. I sent a message to him, and he called me like 10 minutes later, which he never does. Like, nobody gets a call from Jack. He called me, hey, Paul. He said, we're really booked up because of Magic Live. And he said, but you still live near, close? I'm like, yeah. And it's like, that's a tick in our box, makes it easier. And you're near and blah, blah. I was like, yeah. And I was like, well, I had to cancel. He said, you didn't cancel. You just rescheduled. I was like, oh, okay. Okay. And she's like, okay, well, you know, send an email and CC me in and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool. And also, I'm kind of excited about that because the Magic Castle's opened up, and then there's no masks, and it's open, and there's none of the bullshit, and I don't have to pretend, and I don't have to have a drink like this.
Mm-hmm.
And or perform like this and someone's watching me like that, you know, like, or they're having dinner and they're protected because they've got utensils. And so that's all at the moment normal. So that's quite exciting. So I live 10 minutes from the castle. So yeah, I'm gonna knock it out of the park in terms of auditioning. I'm gonna try and do the close-up room again. I'm gonna get back to the castle and start performing there anyway. I mean, my friend Jeff, you know Jeff Kaler?
Oh yeah, very well.
So Jeff's a great guy, and we've hung out a lot, and he stayed at mine, and when I was away, he stayed at me the first time, and he's a very, very good magician. And he's got a lot of stuff coming out, actually. He's got some really cool things. He's written a book. He does a lot of motivational corporate shows, amazing stuff. And he was the guy who said to me, hey, Paul, why are you not at the castle? And I'm like, because I'm watching Netflix. And he's like, well, why? You should be here. And I'm like, yeah, but they're not paying me to be there. And he's like, yeah, but you can come and perform here. You're a member. And I'm like, he's like, where else are you gonna like perform for an audience like this? I'm like, yeah, idiot. You can spend thousands advertising on fucking Google or trying to meet people, or you can go to the castle. I can go downstairs. I can do a 20-minute set in front of punters and meet the most amazing people from all over America in all industries. I mean, I went there. So I started doing that, and I would go there 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah. And then I started working on my set because, of course, they have a close-up room, which is kind of like a baby parlor. And we don't do that very often in this country. Oh. And so you suddenly get to kind of like build a set and perform a 20-minute, 25-minute set. That's so much fun that you're in control of. You're not interrupting people's conversations. They're there to see you perform. And so I started doing that downstairs. Just on a side note on that. So he said, go and do that. And then I was talking to Daryl actually about my act and what bits, like I needed to get a 20-minute bit to Jack for the first time when I performed at the castle. And this friend of mine, Angela and Paul Cantillon, they're musicians. And Angela messaged me and said, are you at the castle? And I was like, no. And it was Kids Week. And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm not going to Kids Week. And she's like, oh, it's a shame. We're going to the castle and bring some friends. And we're hoping to see you perform. And I was like, oh, I do need to perform. And they were bringing Jared Harris, you know, the actor Jared Harris. Mm-hmm. He was in Chernobyl, and he's in loads of things. And he's Richard Harris's son, and he's in Mad Men, Jared Harris. And so I was like, oh, and then I went, boom, punch myself, go and do your bloody act. And I just literally written down the set. So I thought, oh, go on. So I go, and I can't find them. So I go down to the little cellar, to the Hat and Hare, which is a kind of small room, round table, chairs, and basically you pull 2 people up either side of you and get everyone just to crowd in or like pull their chairs in, and it's intimate, and there's like 25 people in there and you're right on top of you. It's like amazing. And I start setting up, and then she walks in, Angela, Paul and Jared and his wife, Allegra, they walk in, and I'm like, oh fuck. I've never done this act before. It's bits and pieces of what I do, but threaded together, trying to create a narrative. So I do this act for them, and it's okay. I actually get the nut, you know, the little bit of that shake suddenly comes in. I hadn't felt that for years. And then I went, in my brain, I went, oh, I'm getting the shakes. Don't worry about it. It will pass. And then it went. And I was like, good, you're a pro. You know what you're doing. You just let it go. It's okay. And I did that. And then they invited me for dinner upstairs. And we had dinner. And then Jared's telling me stories about Richard Harris and Richard Burton and all these old school actors when he was a kid, and these like crazy. I'm sitting there listening to these crazy stories. I'm like, oh, okay, this is quite good. So the next night I come back again and I do the set again, and then I do it again. And then they've got a thing you can record it. So I recorded the 20 minutes, boom, Jack Goldfinger, boom. On my birthday, August the 12th, I was there, came over to me and said, hey, Paul, saw your act, we're definitely going to book you. Keep your ears peeled. I'm like, oh, what do I need to do? Keep your ears peeled. Okay. Driving up to Malibu with a friend one day, he calls me, hey, Paul, are you available either side of Halloween? I'm like, yeah. So I get booked to the castle. I'm glad I didn't do Halloween because it's a nut job place. So I did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think, or Thursday through next Wednesday was Halloween. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I had a little break, came back on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I did the Friday lunch, and you do 4 shows a night. I think I did something like 32 shows.
Wow.
I never thought that I could do 4 shows in a night, but turns out I can. And I made sure that I hit the room hot. I didn't hit the room and try and find my show. I worked on my show downstairs for about a month, or up just anywhere I could do it, and did it, so that when I hit the room on my first show, I knew my show. It was really good. Jack came and watched it. It's like, Paul, that was great. Jack came and saw my last show, and I went, oh, thanks, really nice of you to come and see it again. And he said, oh, yeah. And I think he said, your friend Paul Draper said I should see your show again. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then he said, I said, did you see it kind of, change and develop? He said, Paul, you hit the room on fire, you left the room on fire. And I was like, that's a good quote. And so that was fun. And my mum got to see me perform there.
Oh, that's a big deal. Especially, as you said earlier, how supportive she's been.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. That's awesome. That's great. So I got to ask you, what's your goals moving forward? You're now at time of filming, you're about to go back to America. Back to Los Angeles. You've got no plans to coming back to the UK anytime soon. You've got a green card over there. Is there anything, I mean, what I suppose I've got 2 questions. The first question is there anything left on your, this is Talk Magic after all, is there anything left on your magical bucket list that you haven't achieved that you'd like to achieve? Because you've had an incredible career, you know everybody, you've done TV, you've done just as a magician, you've had an awesome career. But outside, I mean, yeah, is there anything left that you'd like to do? And I suppose the follow-up question to that is, now that you're going back to America, well, I mean, we've already discussed that you're wanting to really push towards the acting side of things. Will that take precedence?
I've always liked the idea of going to the Oscars on a bicycle.
That's awesome.
Turning up in my tuxedo on a bicycle, like, you were nominated for something. Like, we're dreaming here. You get nominated for something. You just turn up on a bicycle, and then you do magic around the tables. That would tickle me to Now, I've got one of these bird scooters in LA. Got my own one, you know, a 9-bot max. And I live 10 minutes away. So I get my suit on, my coat, get my scooter, and I scoot up to the Magic Castle on my scooter. And they laugh. I've got to wear a helmet. And they laugh and I lock it up outside. But it takes me 8 minutes door to door. And I leave there and it takes me 8 minutes home. I don't have to sit in traffic. It's hilarious. So I find that quite amusing. So I'm gonna work hard at doing stuff. I'm trying to write a show, maybe for Edinburgh 23, and it would be a theatrical piece with magic rather than a magic show with acting. Is what I'd like to do, and whether I get it done, I've been talking about it for ages and ever. You know, apparently I have to actually write it. I can't just manifest it miraculously.
Who knew?
No?
Who knew?
Who knew? Yeah. So, I did this stage show piece at what was the H Club in LA, which has closed down now, but they had the H Club, and I wrote this stage piece, which had music and mind reading, and it's kind of about me. And so I'm going to do that, or some of that, I think, on the 1st of April here. So I've been working on that as well. I've never had any ambition to be like in a Vegas show or anything like that. That's never been something that I really wanted to do. But I do like doing those kind of parlor shows. And I do like that kind of stage show where it's your show. I enjoy that. And I like the parlor show, and I like doing the close-up room at the castle. I think that's fun. And I wouldn't certainly enjoy doing that at gigs. I don't know if I did some restaurant nights when I came back last time. My friend who runs a restaurant said, "Hey, do you want to do a couple of nights?" And I did. And it was fun. I don't know if I really want to do that. It's not something I would want to focus on per se, but, you know, I don't mind earning money doing magic. So I quite enjoy that as well. I like the corporate gigs, and I'm certainly thinking about traveling, or maybe taking a little holiday when I'm back in America and just going to a few places I haven't been, just taking that opportunity. And it's quite handy having a deck of cards. And I tell you what, also I'd like to go to Hawaii, and I quite like the idea of getting paid to go to Hawaii. You know what I mean? Like if I was in a hotel, if I booked a hotel on my own and just hung out, I think I'd end up doing some magic, because it would basically unlock doors that wouldn't be open to normal people. So why not?
Yeah.
You know, you can, like, if you're in Cannes and you're a magician, you can either have a holiday in Cannes and see the sights, or you can end up on someone's yacht because you do magic, or some crazy party, or some crazy hotel, or, you know, there's like so many mad things that happen. It used to be, because I used to busk, and that, you know, took me places, and I used to take my guitar with me all over the place, and that was fun. But magic really does some crazy things. So yeah, I don't think I'd like to let it go, but I think if there's a lot of stuff that comes at me, then on the acting front, then I'll knuckle down and focus definitely on that. But I certainly wouldn't let it go. And when I was doing the Groundlings, the last lot that I was doing, when I was doing the writers lab, I was working on, it was a killer. I mean, we had to write monologues every day in class. I had 3 classes a week. It might have been 4. I think it was 3. They're 3.5-hour classes that always overran. Then we'd have to meet up with the people, because we'd work with other students together, and we'd write sketches together. Then we'd pitch the sketch or the monologue. Then he'd give us notes. Then you have to go away and rewrite them. And while you were doing that, you'd start on another one. And then I was booked to play the castle. So I was going from the kind of comedy improv to the magic castle kind of, and it's a new show there, and I'm doing that. But you've said it, Henry White said it, you kind of give a busy man more work and he'll get it done. And I found, like, after a hiatus, doing a magic gig is exhausting. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
Like, when you haven't done it for a while, it's a killer. Because it's like going to the gym. And then you build up your muscularity, and then you get kind of right, okay, and then you're in the vibe. And the most fun is when, certainly the most fun magically is when you've got 3 or 4 gigs a week and you get in that zone and you can just kind of like, you can run with it.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. 100%.
You know, and yeah, your energy is there and you're like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
Just like, so yeah. And yeah, in terms of bucket list magic, yeah, it's a difficult one. And there's always that thing, like you said it earlier, you know, you're kind of stepping off one boat to get on another. Do you have to do that? How much do you have to focus on the one thing? How much can you spread yourself? I mean, you spread yourself on, you know, yes, it's magic, but you do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
You've got your kids' entertainment network. You've got your adult magic performer. You've got your performing for magicians. You've got your YouTube stuff, which is what, go into that. And how many subsections of your YouTube stuff are there, from the interviews to the magic reviews to Ryland to what running a family, what he's doing. I mean, there's a lot of things that you do. Yes, they're under that one magic umbrella, but there's quite a lot.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, do you find that you have to, when do you say no?
Whenever an opportunity presents itself, I weigh up if I've got the time to do it, and if it will impact something else, and if I can remove something in order to make it happen, and how badly I want it, whatever that may be. So I'm quite lucky, and I've spoken about this on the channel before, I'm quite lucky in that I've got a big infrastructure around me, because I have got companies and I have got staff that work in those companies. So I can kind of make the decision and say, well, if I take a step back from this, that allows me to do this. Now, can I take a step back from this? What will the impact be if I take a step back from this? And what would the benefit be if I do this? And I kind of, it's like what you're talking about just saying yes and taking risks. I kind of, every time I think of taking a risk, because it's always a risk when you're doing something new, because it's always going to impact on something else you're doing. And I kind of say, what's the best case scenario of doing this thing? And what's the worst case scenario? What's the worst possible outcome that can happen? And if I can live with the worst possible outcome and I'm like, okay with that, then I'll do it.
Yeah. 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 It's difficult because we've just talked about career.
Yeah.
And it's like, to most people, you'd say, what are your hobbies? And if you said to me, what are your hobbies? Well, my hobbies are my work.
Yeah. Same.
They're my hobbies. Like, I don't, but you have to keep learning. You have to keep trying new things, like you say, try different flavors, experiment, throw things out, put yourself under those pressures. Be prepared for it to go wrong. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Nothing. What's going to happen? Nothing. You might learn something.
Yeah. I think the other important thing is you've got to remain passionate about whatever it is that you're doing. Like, one thing that's come across to me from interviewing you is how passionate about everything that you do. You can just tell from speaking to you and how excited you get about improv and magic and acting and the Magic Castle and everything you've spoken about. You can see the passion flowing through. And I've spoken to magicians in the past where you can just tell they're going through the motions, and they do it because they don't really have another option, but they don't really want to do it. Or they don't, they kind of got themselves stuck in a rut. And I think that, yeah, one thing that I hope everyone's noticed from this interview with you is just how passionate you are about the community, about the magic circle, about the magic castle, about absolutely everything that you do. You're passionate. And I think that's one of the reasons why you're lucky, because it's not just about being in the right time, right place and working hard, but it's also about loving what you do. And that's always going to be infectious and shine off on other people, and other people are going to notice that and buy into that passion.
Yeah. And you want to be around, don't surround yourself with negative people. Don't surround yourself with the wrong people. Just because people say, oh, you should do this or you should do that, or no, that won't happen. Sorry, you don't need those people. There's enough people, especially in the creative industry and the creative world, that are incredibly talented and add something to the world. And I think more than ever, if you don't realize it now after what we've all been through, what the hell? I mean, honestly, of course, the nurses and the doctors but what was the first thing that happened in the pandemic? What's on bloody Netflix?
Yeah.
What can I watch? What can make me feel good? What can inspire me? We can all think about those people that inspired us. Who inspired me as magic when I was young was, Paul Daniels. It must have left a residue. Even later, Blaine, Derren Brown, and then actors and Marlon Brando and, The Godfather. I mean, God, I loved it.
Yeah.
Directors like Scorsese and Spielberg, just incredible things. And they make life worth living. They make it an exciting place. And being creative is exciting and enriching, because it's not just in itself, it resonates outward and outward and outward and outward. And I even felt that at Blackpool this time. I had people come up to me and say, oh, how are you, Paul? And I'm like, do I know you? And they're like, no, but I follow you. And I'm like, oh, right. And they're like, yeah, oh, you're doing this, and that's so cool. And you're like, oh, wow. And then someone said, oh, I listened to your podcast. Well, I haven't done one for ages. And they're like, oh, I've just been listening to it. And you're like, oh, yeah. Which one? Oh, this one. I mean, it's great. And I actually feel sorry for people who don't have that. And you surround yourself with the positive people, surround yourself with, keep reading, keep watching, keep trying, keep tasting, keep going to lessons, learn to dance, learn to sing, learn to improv, learn to do everything. Give it a go. Why not? I mean, who knows? And magicians more than anybody, actually, in the arts, of course, look at the new tricks. I love looking at the new tricks. I was a prop dog today, funnily enough, I mean, that said, I'm always looking at all the dealers, and I bought things at Blackpool that were amazing that I probably shouldn't have, but I did. But go to art galleries, go to concerts, go and read books, go to try something else, God's sake, because that stuff, you take that into your act. You let that flavor filter into you. You let that smell come in, that taste, that touch, that sensation. Then this whole thing becomes something else. Then, my God, wow, what could magic become?
Yeah, we're talking here about expanding your mind.
Yeah. And it's incredible. And the opportunities, you kept saying, like, the luck. Oh, and then this happened. How lucky. No, that, definitely not taking it for granted ever. ever take it for granted. But my God, anyone listened who managed to stay awake through all of this, I think from the first sentence, you'll see those pegs connecting.
Yeah.
Like impossibly connecting in this amazing spiral of events and learning and experiences. And my God, most people don't get this. I mean, you forget that this community is tiny. It's tiny, really. So, yeah, wow. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to the next thing. God, is it frightening? Yeah. Do I know what I'm doing next? No. Is there a guarantee that it will work? But
I love that you constantly push yourself out your comfort zone. It would be so easy with your reputation and your network to just set up, especially with the pandemic ending, it'd be so easy to set up shop in Los Angeles or in the UK and just say, hey, I'm open to business, I'm a magician, and literally be right there at the top and do very, very well. But you're always looking for new opportunities, and you're always pushing yourself out there, and it's something that people should learn from.
I hope so.
Absolutely, you really should. Before we wrap this up, I have got one more thing that I need to say, because your podcast is brilliant. We've alluded to it a couple of times during the interview, and for people that are watching this that haven't heard the podcast, you've done 25 episodes. It's not about magic, although you've interviewed magicians, but the podcast is called The Magic of, and it's, what do you, in your own words, can you tell people, because I'd like people to go and listen to that podcast. I really would. I think it's excellent. I haven't listened to all of them, and I want to. I've listened to probably half the episodes, and they're amazing. It's a fantastic podcast.
So it's called The Magic of, with Paul Roffman. The idea behind it was not to negate magic at all, to connect magic and to look at people that artistically and creatively that I think have a connection or connect to. So I have a lot of musicians, actually, and it was a very subconscious thing that it was magicians. It wasn't, I didn't realize I was doing it as much as I did. And I've got, the first episode is a film composer, Patrick Caird, who I talked about, used to go and watch the MMA with him. I have in the music Magnus Fines, who's he writes for film and TV and commercial, and his brother is Rafe Fiennes, and he's the most articulate. Oh my God, this guy! I had to work hard to keep up with him. His brain is like amazing. That's one of my favorite episodes, I've got to say. So I highly recommend that. It was the only in-person one. I wrote the music as well, the incidental intro and outro, and play that on it. Because I didn't know how, I didn't like the kind of free music, and I didn't know what to put on, and I went, oh, I'm sure I can come up with something. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, that'll do. Bomb. And sounds right. And yeah, I had there are magicians, Billy Kid's on it. That's quite interesting from, well, actually quite a theatrical perspective, because Billy's quite theatrical, and she's also like advisors on magic and stuff. So she's really interesting. I had Steve Valentine, magician, amazing actor, magician. And funny enough, like you said, I get all excited about acting. He does as well. Like we talk about magic, he gets excited, then he talk about acting and he's off like exploding off his chair. Nicholas Holt, the actors on it, Douglas Hodge, Jez Rose, Lee Warren. I mean, it's a cool, there's some really interesting things, and I'd certainly recommend the people that you don't know watch those guys, because it's all really connected. And we talk about magic. I do some magic for some of them, I think. I can't remember. But it's all about creativity, and it's all about, there's actors, directors, writers, presenters. And that's what I'm kind of interested in. And the reason I was inspired by the Joe Rogan podcast, because I liked his long form before it became controversial or whatever. I mean, it was always controversial to some degree, but he had some amazing guests on, and you got really in depth. And the thing you get with these kind of talks is you get a very in-depth perspective of people. And yes, it becomes rambly at sometimes and a bit all over the place, but like we talked about this before, that after about 45 minutes with someone, they open up and they say things they don't normally say. And also I do a lot of research. It's exhausting because I have to kind of know a lot about what they do. So I'll end up watching their films or whatever they've produced, or their books, or try and read their book, or try and know quite a lot of in depth, so that I can really kind of go, oh, you know, when you said this particular thing and this particular thing, and call them out. So I'll write notes on it. And they're unedited generally, and they're yeah, I had to be really on it, listen. So that's kind of what I was trying to achieve. And it was during the pandemic that I came up with it, and I wanted to do something. I didn't really want to do Zoom shows. Everyone was doing that and buying equipment for that. And I thought, I'll buy equipment again. I'm going to try something that I haven't done that seems impossible and scary. And this might be fun. I might learn a new skill and find something else about myself and other people. And maybe, and also, what an interesting way. I thought also during the pandemic when we were locked up, I thought this is a good way to stay in contact with people and continue to make connections and network and be part of something. So yeah, and I record it. So it's on YouTube, and then it's on audio format on Spotify and Apple and whatever else. And yeah, please subscribe. It'd be good to get some new subscribers on it, and maybe they'll inspire me to get some more interesting people. And I would like, if I did it again, I would definitely get a cross section of people. I like magicians. I like magicians who think outside the box and think in a broader perspective. And I'm constantly finding fascinating people that I didn't know. I mean, I don't know everybody, and suddenly I meet this person and that, and they've done this and they've done it. Like, wow,
yeah,
that's amazing. So yeah, so
well, I personally would like to vote to see it coming back.
Yeah, yeah. Send me someone to help.
Well, we spoke about that off camera. It's so hard when you're creating content. I know full well how hard it can be when you're creating content.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen by itself. It just has, you have to crack on with it. I would the night before a lot of them, I was like, oh no, they're not going to be interested in anything. I'm going to run out of conversation. I don't know what I'm going to say. I've got nothing. I don't know enough about them. I haven't done enough research. And I'd just be like, oh my God, it's going to be a disaster. It was funny, like Steve Valentine was like, oh, we'll do 40 minutes when he eventually decided to do it. And then we ended up talking for 20 before it started. We did 2 hours or something on it. And then we talked for another 20 after. I was like, you bastard, you made me think that we weren't going to do anything. Oh, I'll tell you who I had on it. I'll tell you a good one. Dave Vengus. Now, Dave Vengus is the first assistant director on Spider-Man.
The new one?
The new one.
Wow.
And when we did that, he was working on Spider-Man and he was in Atlanta. And again, I ended up...
Very cool.
Yeah, I hosted him at the Magic Castle. I think it was his 50th birthday. Wicked guy, amazing guy. And then he committed to do it. And then it took a few weeks and then he did it. And I mean, God, you want to check out that one. He talks about De Niro, Meryl Streep, Scorsese, Oliver Stone, Johnny Depp, Jon Favreau. He's worked with all of these people.
Wow.
And, like, I'm connecting with these really fascinating people on another level. Wow, that was like... So yeah, it's check it out, subscribe, because subscribing helps with these platforms.
Yeah.
That's an important thing, isn't it? Yes, check it out. And then the short film, I'll give you the links. I've written them out. I'll send them to you if you want. And they're on. I'm on YouTube and Vimeo.
And I'll put them in the description down below to this video.
Okay, cool. And yeah, and you know, anyone wants to know anything else, send me a letter.
Well, what social media can people reach you on? I mean, do you?
I am on the Instagram, Paul Roffman Magic. I am on the. My Facebook is for people I know generally, but I have a like a fan page version of me, I think.
Yeah.
And Roffman Magician, I think, on Twitter. because it didn't fit Paul Roffman Magic, I think I couldn't have that for some reason, or maybe I should have just been Paul Roffman. I don't know. Who knows? I hate them all, but I love them all. Yeah, so I'm there. Just look me up. I exist.
This has been like seriously an incredible interview. It really has. You've lived a really, really, really interesting life. And I get the impression that you're only just getting started.
I'm only just getting started, definitely. The next 10 years are going to be a really interesting time. And they have to be, but they are going to be. So it's going to be an interesting next decade ahead. Hopefully with a lot of positivity for the world, let's hope, and moving forward in a positive way. But, you know, you can't deal with anything that goes out. Side externally, you can only deal with what's in front of you, and you know, that's it. You know, and you know, connect with all the positive stuff, because the rest of it's all bullshit anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that. This has been amazing. This has been absolutely amazing. If people want to reach out to you, Paul, can they do so through messages on Instagram or whatever?
Yeah, if you know, if everyone's welcome in LA. Generally, just fly to LA, and I won't be there, but no, they can. If people want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me by all of the many myriad of ways that we contact each other. Just don't phone me. All right, no, just yeah, Instagram. Never speak to me. Yeah, feel free. Put some messages in the thing below, and Instagram, and follow me and send me money. In fact, that works really well. Just come over, give me loads of cash. I'll definitely talk to you.
There you go. So now we know how to hang out with Paul in Los Angeles.
I'm around. Listen, if I'm in the circle, come and say hello. In the car, and you're there, and the castle, say hello. That's that. I'm very approachable. I talk to everybody, and yeah, and just don't drive me mad. Be normal.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Actually, I'm wrapping this up now, but one thing I've noticed, especially from being in the circle on Monday, which you referenced at the very beginning of the interview, there's no clickiness anymore. The last time I went there, which admittedly was years ago, it felt a bit clicky, but on Monday, looking around that club room, it wasn't. It was just one big community, and everybody, you know, there were people there that were there for the very first time, people that have been there, you know, for years, and everyone was just getting on. It was great to see.
Yeah, it's a really positive thing, but you know, obviously it's because we're coming out of this thing, and people are excited to be out, and people want to be positive, but people very quickly revert to old habits. And what I will say is it's each of our own responsibility to talk to each other, and it's our own responsibility to interact with people. And it's easy to fall into little groups. So, you know, all I'll say is that, you know, like I step out of my comfort zone in what I do. Step out of your comfort zone in talking to people. Doesn't mean you have to be best mates. Doesn't mean you're going to hang out. Doesn't mean whatever. But just sometimes talk to the people you don't talk to. Don't go and sit with the same people all the time. Yeah. Go and have a little chat with someone you haven't met. You don't have to talk to everybody different all the time. But, you know, we all have to take responsibility for that as well. You know.
And as you've pointed out in this interview many, many times, reaching out and sitting down next to people you don't know, you never know what doors that's going to open.
You never know. I mean, God, at the castle one time. I was there. I was chatting to this girl. I invited her to see one of my shows. She didn't see my show. We ended up just chatting at the bar, and she turned out to be like this top voiceover agent for a computer games company. And just because we had a laugh and a giggle and a chat, we exchanged numbers, and she put me up for voiceover auditions. And she became like a friend and contact, and just in a moment, who knows? And just remember as well, all those people, the Bobby Bernards, the Alan Shaxsons, the Ali Bongos, Paul Daniels, some of the Henry Lewis, some of those guys that you haven't met, some of those, you don't know who they are. They've been on this planet for a long time, and they won't be on this planet for that much longer. God, how many amazing things can they tell you? Now, they might not. They might just piss in their seat and really annoy you and smell. That's a chance you have to take. But generally, they're going to have some words of wisdom, experience.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's right, but wow, some more information, some more things, some more tidbits to take on board. Wow. Get involved. And we're lucky we're in that artistic community where there's amazing people. And then, in the circle, there's some amazing people who aren't even magicians, like full-on magicians. There's producers there. There's like Maria Corp. Wow, she works in set design and makeup and character stuff. And she worked on Star Wars. She's amazing. I mean,
well, look at Daryl Rose. He's been involved in television his entire life.
I don't know Daryl Rose.
Oh, okay.
Daryl Rose, what a twat. No. Daryl Rose. He was on my podcast as well.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
He was on your podcast. And Daryl, Daryl, actually, you should just cut that bit, just like I said, Daryl Rose, what a twat, and just put that as a clickbait.
Oh, that's going to be the leading headline to the YouTube video. Paul Roffman interview, Daryl Rose, what a twat. I'm leading with that.
No, Daryl's done some mad shit.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely insane. And he works in incredible stuff in TV all over the world. I mean, just mad, amazing stuff. I'm constantly inspired by the people I meet, the people I know, my friends. The way that other people perform, and doesn't mean I perform like them, but it's amazing. And I can just come up with an idea, and God, I can get so many different versions of a perspective on the same thing. I mean, with my last show, I talked to Paul Martin and went over to him, and he helped me with some things. And then I talked to Michael Fitch, and then he helped me with some things. And Max Somerset helped me with some things. And Mike Phillips helped me with some things. And wow, I mean, it's insane. That's just insane. So, and the people who aren't in the circle or are just vaguely interested in this and just find it interesting as a hobby stuff, just look at it in life, The people who work at your coffee shop, get to know them. The people who serve you, make sure you know they are. If you go somewhere regularly, get to know the staff. You don't know who these people are. And also it's nice. And believe it or not, I always know, I get to know people. I'm like member of various clubs, but I get to know all the staff. Yeah. I even write down the names just to remind myself, because it makes such a big difference. I'll go to places and I go, oh, hi, Joe. Hi, Jack. And they're like, oh, wow. And I'll have a chat with people. And it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And God, the things that you hear and get to do, and wow. And not that you do it for that. You don't do it for that. But out of doing it for the right reasons, again, out of doing things for the right reasons comes all these amazing things. I promise you.
Yeah.
I promise everybody that if you do things with the right mentality and for the right reasons, more good than bad will come from it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. 100%. Wonderful advice. This whole interview has been, I really hope that everybody who listens to this takes home. There's so many lessons that you've put across in this. This has been genuinely, Paul, one of my favorite interviews on the whole channel. And I've done about 160 up until this point. And this has been one of my favorites. So thank you so much for coming on the channel. And I completely agree with you. I think the next decade is going to be awesome because you're just wired that way. And I think that it'll happen. Not because you're lucky, but because you just go for it. So, you know, I wish you all the continued success that you've had up until this point.
Thank you, Craig. I really appreciate it. And I was super excited when you asked me to be on this. And I've had a ball. I've talked myself silly. And anybody who knows me tends to know that I do talk myself silly anyway. But, it's been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you so much. Guys, do me a favor, leave a comment down below for Paul. Don't forget to give him a follow on Instagram and all that fun stuff. And if you haven't already done so, check out the podcasts. The links are going to be in the description down below. It's the Magic Off Podcast. Subscribe to the podcast, and hopefully we can convince Paul to do a few more episodes in the future. And yeah, I will be back again tomorrow with another couple of videos. Yeah, 3 a day, Paul, 3 a day. 4 on the weekend, 4 on a Saturday, 4 on a Sunday, 4 on a Friday, 3 every other day. So, and
you are allowed to have a holiday.
What is this thing of which you speak? I'm sure I'll come to Los Angeles. There you go, one day, and yeah, I'll just rest up for a week.
yeah, and I'll take you out, and we'll I'll show you some interesting different things. Obviously the castle, but some other stuff.
That would be good. I'm going to hold you to that. Never been to Los Angeles, so
yeah,
I'm going to hold you to that. We'll do that sooner rather than later.
No problem.
Guys, make sure you leave a comment down below, and I'm going to be back again soon. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Craig.
And I'm Paul.
Thanks a lot. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.